You can see your driveway is wider than the curb cut, and there's a question of whether or not that's allowable. So I think you need to double check with the transportation department. I got me getting repeated here. Um, so
In terms of the driveway, we're believe that is existing, um, where it extends past the curb cut that you're referring to. We're not proposing any driveway modifications.
okay. Well, then you're proposing stone landscape edging at the edge of the driveway, so that's gonna, I guess, try to dress up the edge of it. Um, well, I recommend that you consult with a landscape architect to properly prepare a landscape plan because I don't see that from your last submittal to what's here that anything's changed, and uh, it's tough for me to support what's presented here as addressing the comments. So I would I recommend that you have a plan that encompasses the entire front yard space, since that, I guess, what is the wing of the house that's on the south side there? That that whole addition that's being done is going to be accessed from where the existing landscape area is, so it's all going to be tore up. So it's going to need to be um, replanted. So I think you need a more comprehensive landscape plan that includes sizes, quantities, and addresses the front yard. And any proposed landscape lighting plan. And then Jerry was having some comments on the,
Yeah, no, I think the architecture looks fine. I was misreading the detail. Um, it's they it appeared at first that they weren't matching, but now they're matching. But I think the landscape comments are extremely valid.
um, yeah, you have on, you're calling out a new evergreen privacy hedge, but there is no identification of what that is or the size of the material, the spacing of it. So that's along the north side of the property. And then you call out new coyote brush. Coyote brush is like a low ground cover plant. So just the way that the landscape plan is presented, it doesn't read like it's put together in a way that's going to be effective. So I recommend further thought on it and to bring it back at the next meeting. Sorry to have to recommend that, but that's my finding on it. Uh, yeah. So we'll make a motion for your project to come back at the next round. If you want to bring the landscape plan, we'll review it. So I think that concludes the consent agenda here.
Yes, we will begin at 9:15 in about 3 minutes. Thank you.
Right, we will begin the SBI hearing of July 10th, 2026. And we'll start with the consent agenda. We can, do you guys want to make a motion for the consent agenda, or you want me to go to, that's okay.
So for the first item, which, hang on, trying to pull it up here. For the Herman B and B Family Trust Edition, there was a motion communicated to approve that item. There's nothing required. It all looks supportable. Then for item number 2, which is the Ngayan edition, there was 3 comments carried over from the previous meeting.
All right, let's first make a motion, since there'll be different motions for approval. Let's do C1 first.
Okay,
Do we have a motion to approve C1?
I'll make a motion to approve C1.
You want to do a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries for final on C1, and then we'll move on to C2.
Okay, for C2, it was recommended to continue this project. The comments addressing, the comments were addressed about the color and material board. That was covered. But we were making a recommendation to return with a more thorough landscape plan that encompassed the entire front yard, that included sizes and quantities for the landscape planting. The driveway is existing, so I think we can strike out the comment about adjusting anything related to the driveway. And then the screening along the side yards also needs to be revisited. And there should also be any proposed landscape lighting, and this needs to be all covered in a standard landscape package, including sizes, quantities, and, lighting fixtures, materials, all that type of thing.
Okay. So you're requesting that it returns final on consent,
Yes.
those comments to be addressed. Is there any additional motion we need to make, Jonathan? Okay.
No additional.
Okay. All right, we'll close the consent agenda and we'll move on to public comment. If there's anyone that would like to speak on items not pertaining to items on today's agenda.
Madam Chair, we have received no letters and nobody signed up to speak for public comment on items not on today's agenda.
Okay, close public comment and move on to the agenda status report.
Agenda status report, item number 3. I'm sorry, not item 3, item 7, 23 BAR-00124, Guisto Foothill Enterprise LLC exterior alterations request to be continued to the 24th of July.
We need to make a motion.
We do need to make a motion for this item.
Okay, do we have a motion for?
I so move.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. He is here. We have a microphone. Like unheard of a
Oh.
summer full board.
Yeah.
All right. Not even set up to have everyone show up. Okay. And we'll review the minutes from June 26th. We had site visits and then only 2 items or 3. But anyone have any on 1 or yeah. 2, sorry, 1 was continued, I guess. And 3. Four.
It looks
Everybody have
good.
anything? All right, do we have a motion to approve the minutes from June 26th?
I'll make that motion.
Give a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
I'll note that I had to recuse from item 2, but I think I can still be involved in the minutes approval. Okay. All right, moving on to staff update. Anything, Willow?
Morning. No update for me.
Okay, thank you. Oh, I did the consent early on accident. Okay, well, oh, what's missing from here is Aspire member informational briefings. Does anyone have anything? I may be absent at the next hearing. I emailed you, but I will confirm. All right, we'll move on to the first item on the standard agenda. Is the applicant online or in the audience?
Good morning. This is Jennifer Siemens. I'm online, obviously, and we have the other members of our team there in person. And
great.
if you're all ready, I was just going to give a brief introduction before handing it over to the architects.
Great, I'll read the description and then you can give your introduction. Thanks, Jennifer. Your team is all sitting at the table since you can't see them.
Okay, thank you.
Request of Jennifer Siemens, agent for the owner Abundant Care LLC, here for conceptual review of a 5,374 square foot addition and 210 square foot interior remodel to the existing 4,381 square foot facility. The following structures exist on the parcel: 4,381 square foot assisted living facility, 257 square foot storage sheds. The proposed project will require 165 cubic yards of cut, 0 fill, and it's a 0.46 acre parcel located at 4589 Ahe Drive in the Eastern Galeta Valley Plan community area. All right, and you can go ahead and give your presentation.
Okay, thank you, Kaylee. So as you mentioned, this project's at 4589 Ahe Drive, which is just south of Hollister, east of Turnpike. It is almost half an acre, zone 15R1. Abundant Care LLC has operated here for the past 18 years, and they've operated at other locations in Santa Barbara for a total of 26 years. The facility is located in a neighborhood with mixed uses, including churches and residences. The church located to the west also has a preschool, and their property includes the site to the north of the facility as well. So this facility is considered assistant living. As such, the residents are people that need additional care but are relatively independent. The facility cooks and cleans for the residents and provides general assistance, general living assistance, I should say. None of the residents drive or own cars, usually due to age, mobility, or safety considerations. The current facility is a 6-bedroom or 6-resident facility. So as such, the facility to date has only needed a land use permit under state law. If you're up to 6 bedrooms, you operate just like a normal single-family dwelling. And then once you go above that, you need a conditional use permit. And so due to the high demand for this type of facility in our community, the owner is proposing to add 8 patient rooms and 2 caregiver rooms. And this includes remodeling a portion of the first floor and adding to the second floor. In regard to the parking, as I mentioned, the residents do not drive. We had Associated Transportation Engineers prepare a parking study based on the number of employees and visitors per day. The study recommended a total of 5 to 6 spaces, but we're providing a total of 7. The county ordinance requires more, but the county's ordinance is not really current. It's not based on the operation of an assisted living facility with non-driving residents. So that's why we're providing the number of spaces that we are. And obviously, there's no way we could provide 16, which is what the county ordinance would require. So I'm going to hand it over now to the architects Carlos Amaro and Sean Godkin. And we also have the owner here, Daniel Bond, if you have any questions about the operation of the business.
Thank you. I just wanted to check, is Soren on as well, your planner? In case there's parking
Yes.
questions. Okay. Great.
Oh, I don't know if he's on. He is our planner. I don't know.
We don't have him online right now. I can see if he can jump on the call if he's available.
It might be good just in case we have questions about if we need a variance or what kind of thing we need to be recommending for the parking.
And Kaylee, can I just add one more thing?
Yeah.
It's a little confusing about the parking because originally I was told we needed a modification for the parking. And then I was subsequently told that we did not need a mod because we're getting a CUP. It's all wrapped into the CUP.
Okay. Okay, that helps clarify. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, you can go ahead and give your presentation. Yeah, make sure it's green and then.
Hi, everybody. My name is Carlos Amaro. Yeah, I do work with Sean Godkin as well as the owner, Daniel Bond. We can start on sheet AS1 if that's okay, to kind of go over the existing, look at the existing site. Next one up. Here we go. As you can see, we do have a existing single-story smooth stucco, clay tile, existing residence that's about 22 feet tall at the moment. You can see that on photo 6. Photo 7 shows you the single-family residence to the east, and you can see the existing 8-foot hedge that we have between that residence and the proposed assisted living facility. And like Jennifer said, we do on the west side, we do have the large existing church that is about 28 feet high. And across the street, as you can see, there's just an empty parking lot, which is where the existing daycare business owned by the church exists. Next page, AS2. As you can see, we try to stay within the footprint as much as possible so that we weren't expanding the structure itself to keep the massing down. On the first floor, we are adding about 1,123 square feet. Like Jennifer said, we do have to add parking at the back per code requirement. The existing county fire requirements are to provide them with a 20-foot driveway. Next page. We did have a chance to actually run this through the fire department to get their input. They did appreciate because it is going from an R3 to an R2.1, it is turning into a commercial structure. So even though it was a short lot, they did want to make sure that they had access to the back in case of emergency. You can kind of see we are providing a fire department turnaround. More than likely, we will have to ask for an AMA for that turnaround because it is a little bit shorter on the south side. As we move into the next sheet, which is AS4, the proposed landscape, the client is trying to keep as much of the existing landscape as much as possible. We are planning on getting a landscape architect. Right now, we are trying to just get conceptual for the building itself so that we can actually move forward with the project. But as you can see, we are actually also proposing quite a bit of permeable pavers throughout the property. As we move into sheet A10, that shows you the existing floor plan, demo plan. We are trying to keep all the bedrooms down below. There was some slight modification down on the south side that's going to require pushing the corridor through for the additional bedrooms on the south side. But as you guys know, for an R2.1, also we do need 2 exits. So we are getting rid of the existing library that's actually on the east side there. As we go to sheet A1.1, like Jennifer said, we are expanding, the client is expanding the bedrooms. He wanted to create a little office that the actual potential clients can come in from the entry on the street side where the customers come in and basically can come through as they tour the whole facility. Like I talked before, this does require 2 exits. Because this whole building is being sprinklered per NFPA 13, We only have to separate those exits by a third of the actual diagonal distance, which actually which is why you can see that the distance between them is a little bit shorter. And there, like Jennifer said, we are adding one bedroom on the south side with a caregiver room. As you go into the sheet A1.2, which is the second floor plan, what's nice about this plan and these facilities, this can be a typical, I hate to call it, but basically like a donut design. And the reason for that is for egress reasons. We are adding an additional 7 patient rooms on the second floor with 1 additional caregiver room. And as you can see, we are, because we don't, because the parking lot had to eat up quite a bit of the landscape on the south side, we are keeping the existing courtyard and basically expanding that to basically create an open space for the patients to enjoy, not only from the outside, but actually from the proposed dining room area that'll actually be able to look down into the courtyard on the north and the south side. As we go into the roof plan, you'll see the circular design does allow for keeping the massing down as much as possible. On the west side of the building, you can kind of see that it is set back. That is the side that the church building is. And then on the east side is the actual driveway side. Again, to minimize the impact to the actual east side and for the single family residents, you kind of can see over that existing or that proposed second exit. I did kind of drop the roof there to minimize that impact on the east side. Moving into the elevations A20, the client, wanted to move into more of like a farmhouse, modern farmhouse type architecture. We were inspired by some of as you can see, some of the photos that we have on the left side. Wanted to create something that, the board and bat farmhouse with some Santa Barbara sandstone to kind of give it a little bit of warmth. There is photo number 4 does show you a few of the elements that we might be using as well as the bridge type element that we have on the south side there. Let's see. The roof, we are using standing metal seam at the first floor elements. It's some of the second floor elements, we are using the metal roofing as well. For the rest of the second floor, we are using the asphalt composition shingles with, and the materials will be James Hardie, typical James Hardie board and bats with some 6-inch horizontal siding, stainless steel chimney caps, smooth stucco. So the existing residence does have smooth stucco. We're going to try and keep that as much as possible to actually save the clients some money. And as you can see, we incorporated some of that into the second floor. Existing residence does have clad type windows, which we plan on using as well. And as you can see throughout the structure, I did try to create, we added the Santa Barbara sandstone to basically ground a lot of the elements and to basically differentiate, some of the different forms as they kind of move in and out. Moving into the next sheet, A2.1, which is the one previous to that. There we go. Sorry. The east elevation, as you can see, is the driveway elevation. You can kind of see where I was talking about that roof slope that kind of drops down below to kind of minimize that impact on that single family residence. At the stair on the left side there, that is set back an additional 35 feet from where that bedroom is in front of that. On the second floor, I also try to minimize the number of windows that would actually be looking over into the residence next door, but that is also set back about 30 feet from the property line. On the west elevation, that is the side of the church. Again, we're basically using scissor trusses on most of that end there. I did try to break it up with a little bit of that California framing gable that we have there. And just for reference, that church does not have any windows on that side. So nobody will be looking into each other on that side there. Some of the materials, as you can see on that one sheet, we are trying to use the same color throughout, using a Swiss coffee type color, your typical, farmhouse lighting with some cable railing. On the previous sheet before that, most of the asphalt composition shingle will be like a silver. We're trying to use a little bit more of like the gray, I guess it's called silver birch for the asphalt composition, and then the standing seam will actually be like a zinc metallic. On sheet A 2.2, there is some sections and an idea of what the Santa Barbara sandstone pattern will look like. I believe that's called a 5-point pattern with no grout. But that is also a section of what we would be looking at through the whole building itself. All the doors and windows will be recessed, basically to complement what's happening there right now at the first floor. And I think that is it.
Right. We'll move on to questions from the board. Does anyone have any?
The color board. Okay.
I don't have a color board. The only colors I provided was to show the Benjamin Moore Swiss coffee image that I have on one of the sheets here.
There's a roofing image as well.
And there's a roofing image on A13, correct.
How about the window color? What's that?
Window colors, the client wanted to actually go with your typical dark bronze color. The existing windows that are on the single store, which we're trying to keep as much as possible, will be painted. And from my understanding, I think there's only like one guy who's good enough to do that in town. So
To paint existing clad?
yeah, so we'll find that guy.
Any other questions from the board?
Just one on the landscape, for the east driveway property line, is that existing ficus hedge on the neighbor's side? I know you guys have to widen the driveway for fire department, it looks like. And you're losing maybe a couple citrus trees there, but is the ficus hedge remaining?
The existing survey does show it on our side here, and I do believe that the client or the owner, do you guys maintain that? The hedge?
On
Yeah.
Jonathan, could you go to just sheet 2, image 6?
It's AS1, which shows the existing.
It's hard to tell.
There you go.
Very top left, very top left, image 6, if you can just zoom in.
Oh, yeah, a good question, because
It's a healthy hedge, and it looks like it's basically your only separation between the single family and your project. So just wondering if it was to be maintained.
We're planning on keeping it. Absolutely. Yeah.
for the driveway wider. All right, any other questions from the board?
Oh, what's at the back of the new parking lot?
You can see that on that same sheet there. It is, look at photo number 4. Those are behind the proposed facility. Those are large lots. I believe they're almost half acre. And so the residence is actually set, the other residence, single family residence, probably set back, I'd say about another 200 feet from there.
The existing courtyard
Correct.
remain, right? Looking,
south. Correct. So, correct.
Any other questions? Move on to public comment. Is there anyone in the audience or online that would like to speak on this item? We don't have any letters.
We have received no letters. If anybody would like to make a comment on this in the attendees column online, please raise your hand in the chat. Madam Chair, seeing none.
Okay, we'll close public comment and move on to comments from the board. We'll start with Val.
I think you've done a sensitive job of trying to fit this much square footage into this existing neighborhood. I think it's a little hard to tell if there's too much stone on the facades. Maybe some of those wainscots are that you do better with just monolithic stone areas rather than those skirts. And being really careful with elements of stucco and elements of the wood and elements of the stone. But it's going the right direction. I think my biggest concern would be landscaping now. That's the way that you can really enhance the fact that this is such a commercial project now. It is a mixed neighborhood, but it's very residential. So if there's really attention paid to the front and to all the side screening and certainly the parking lot, that's going to be critical for having it fit into this eclectic neighborhood.
Alex?
Yeah, I agree with those comments. Jonathan, can you put a picture of the elevations, the elevation sheet? Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Yeah, I, I, I think the project is going in the right direction in terms of mass, bulk, and scale. There is just a lot of stuff. Basically, you need to consolidate shapes and mostly materials. If I understand this correctly, you have in the walls, you have board and bat, horizontal siding, plaster, brick, and sandstone. So maybe you keep, they have 5, you keep maybe 2 or 3, that would probably be reasonable. The same with the roofs. You have a asphalt shingles, and then you have a standing seam, right? Standing seam would look really nice, and it's light, and it would be, and the window seems to be more or less on the same design. Some have transoms, some don't, but more or less are okay. So I think if you can also the shapes, if you can. I mean, I know it's a complicated, it has many twists and turns. Can you go to the other one, elevation as well? Yeah. It has a lot of twists and turns, but look, this is a lot of shapes. If you can somehow, simplify it as much as possible. So that's what I see, a number of materials and a number of shapes. And I agree with the comment on the landscape.
Josh?
I believe the finding for neighborhood compatibility can be granted to this project. It seems like the mass, bulk, and scale aren't really being affected and seem appropriate. The architectural style is coming together. I agree with Val's and Mr. Peugeot's comments about the eclectic nature of it. Needs further study to be more unified. I agree with that. So our architectural style is acceptable. Compatibility, mass, bulk, and scale all look fine. I'll defer to the landscape architects on the board for any comments around that. When it comes back, I'd appreciate removing your inspiration images. Those are great for your client. Those are confusing to us. So we don't need to see those. If you want to make illustrative drawings to help us convey what your design is, go ahead and render it or color it or do something to focus us on your project. Let's see. That's all my comments.
Yes.
Good one item. Also, 2 light fixtures. I understand that you may need 2 different fixtures, but they should match each other, not just like, that's another case in which you really need to, simplify it.
All right. Jerry?
I agree with the board's comments so far. I think it feels like you have a couple different buildings that are kind of colliding and coming together, and you're doing a pretty good job of trying to blend this really complicated program on a fairly tight site. It looks like for all you got going on, but it does feel like there's a lot happening. And so how do you simplify that a little bit? And then with that, I think for me, it'd be helpful. I don't know if the board feels this way, but for me, it'd be helpful if it looks like this is done from a 3D model, but maybe just present a little bit of the massing of the 3D model. So we could kind of see how deep some of these recesses are. I think, the first floor and the second floor aren't exactly tightly tied together. It's not just an extrusion from first to second, which is, I think, a good thing, but it's still a little bit hard to kind of see how deep some of these recesses are. So I'd appreciate that. But I think simplifying some of the materials, I like Alex's comment about just the standing seam rather than just the whole, kind of mixing these two different aesthetics together. And Val's comment about the stone. And then my other comment would just be, when you come back, I guess I just don't see a lot of how it engages with that rear property. Maybe you can zoom out on the site plan a little bit and we can see exactly how close those houses are on the, just to minimize it. I think having a parking lot right up against a residential lot, I'd like to just see kind of how that affects everybody. I think all in all, the bones are here for what could be a really good project and a kind of a difficult task.
Okay. Kier?
Yep, I agree with most of the board's comments. I like this project a lot. I think it's a really good use of space and how you kind of put together a lot of this program. I do agree a 3D, some type of representation in 3D would probably be to your benefit because I think it's reading a little different in elevation than how people are actually going to experience it. And then in regards to landscape, I'm happy to hear that you're having a landscape architect come on board. I think that's going to be really important for this project, just for the tenants, of course, to kind of come out and enjoy the gardens, because there are a lot of, looks like you have a lot of nice specimens now that you guys are maintaining, which is good. I would just reiterate that the east driveway hedge, just confirm whether that could actually be saved if it's on your property or the neighbors, and maybe work with them in some way or the fire department to see if you guys could give that as much space as possible with still maintaining the access. I think just, reiterating the landscape courtyards, any way you could make that courtyard space in the rear kind of separated from the parking lot, so people feel like that's kind of like a lush garden or some way to enjoy that space without feeling like you're in a kind of a sea of paving out there. I think that'd be really nice, but nice to see there's little fountains everywhere. And I do agree with board member Froscher's comment about the front. Anyway, there is, integrate more trees or some type of screening element in addition to the wall that you guys have now. Would just help break up the mass of the building. But overall, I think it's a great project, and yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add on the architectural part of it, but in regards to the landscape, Jonathan, could you go to the site plan? I think it's is that the second sheet, please? One that has the photos on the top, the existing. Anyhow, that go up one more. I don't know, maybe yeah, there you go. Could you zoom in on the top left photo? That's existing in the front of the property. You have this condition where you have the existing, like site wall and then the curb, and there's kind of like this skinny little strip of pavers. That's not really like a sidewalk. So I was gonna make the suggestion that the landscape architect could consider potentially introducing some planting in that space. I think it might help to soften that wall and present in a little more friendly of a manner, kind of similar to the photo below, where the neighbor has kind of introduced planting in that space. So I would suggest that that might be something to look at. Um, and then in the front of the property, I really think introducing like a canopy tree or a tree that's got a little bit of like visual buffer between the facade of the house or the structure and the street would help to soften what you're proposing. Um, and then I think you need to identify the edge treatment of the new parking lot and along the driveway, like here was identifying to, you know, to maintain some screening between all your neighboring properties. So I think those are kind of the key pieces for the landscape. And the design of the courtyard in the back is obviously a key part for your tenant. So I look forward to kind of seeing those pieces.
Yeah, I agree with the positive comments and also the just to study the simplification of the materials. One just detail on that, and then otherwise I'll stick on the landscape. I was thinking it could be most effective using the stone for one condition versus three different. Right now you have a wainscoting and then kind of a drip screen lower, and then I think it could solve just one of those conditions and it'll have a lot more impact. And then on the landscaping, I think the previous comments are great. And the only thing I was going to add is if you think the parking's going to be underutilized, it might be worth investing in a material that feels a little bit more pedestrian friendly for when tenants want to go move outside and gather. It just seems like if it's just asphalt, it's not going to be very friendly to be able to sit out there. But if there are days that there's fewer staff members, they're using the parking spaces, having a nicer, warmer surface might be that, and then being able to tuck in a few shade canopy trees back there would be really effective. With that, you are here for conceptual review. Jennifer, do you need just positive comments from us and then you go to a commission and come back to us with approval?
Yes, we have to go to a hearing and I don't think we can come back to you guys for preliminary anyway before then.
Okay, so it sounds like I think it sounds like they don't need they just need generally positive comments from us, and then because it's a CUP, they don't need us to make a modification. Soren, do you need to correct anything about that?
Nope, that's correct. The modification is just for parking, so we wouldn't need your input on that.
Okay, so it can return for preliminary once it's gone through the other commissions.
Correct.
All right, thank you. All right, the
Thank
next
you.
item is the item 2, the Retton study, request of Antonio Ziques, agent for the owner Paul Retton, here for conceptual review of a second floor, 260 square foot studio addition above the single family dwelling. The following structures exist on the parcel: 2008 square foot single family dwelling with a 596 square foot carport. The proposed project will require no cut or fill. It's a 0.69 acre parcel located at 1531 Holiday Hill Road. I just wanted to check, is this actually for item 2? Okay, I was gonna say the address matches. Okay, is the applicant online or in the audience? You can come up and sit at one of the mics. We'll look at them on, yeah, unless anyone wants one in front of them. Okay. And we have not heard this before, so you can go ahead and give us your presentation. State your name. If it's green, press the button. There you go.
Good morning to the board. Thank you for all coming to see my little project. I'm just looking to add this studio on.
Just go ahead and state your name first.
First name is Raul, actually. Last name's Retton. I haven't done this particular action before, but whatever kind of questions you have, I'm here to answer. It's a pretty simple project. Just looking to do this studio, take advantage of the view. It's a beautiful lot. I actually grew up in this house. I'm moving back. What kind of questions would you have for me?
So you can go ahead with it. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. So I think we can understand that it's an addition and that you're matching existing materiality.
Absolutely.
Okay. If you'd like, we can just move on to
There you
questions
go.
from the board since it's pretty small. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, the thing is, it's very hard. It's very hard to tell what's going on with this project because go back to the previous page.
It is a ranch style home built.
No, I understand. It's just that you're making a small addition, but this drawing shows like you're making a big house. It has dimension lines all over the place. It's hard to tell what is existing and what you're actually proposing.
Right.
What you're proposing is the space on the second floor plan. Is that the one that little?
Exactly.
And where is that? Where does it go?
It
On
is.
top of what?
It is sitting over as you look at that, over the left-hand portion of the structure, there's an existing studio already there. You can see the breezeway separating the two. To the south side there, yeah, there you go, right in there. So you can see the outline, and the access will be that spiral staircase to come up, just to the right, yep.
Okay, I got it. So all the other dimension lines and all the other information is just because.
I don't, you know what he did? He took it off the original plan. This house was built in 1956,
Right.
57.
Uh-huh. Okay. And
So the only thing being proposed is the
Correct. The little
second story on the corner, which is on the left, on the lower left, right? Is that right?
Right.
Okay. And
So it goes back over the room with the fireplace? Or
Exactly, yeah. It comes, it's just as you
it's over that bathroom and all of that?
right, just over the top. The existing roof line is a sloped roof line. Actually, it's a PVC roofing that's up there now. It'll be, I'm looking to try to reduce the bulk of it, keeping it the height as low as possible. The special view of it is out towards the islands, and it's basically it's just a little porch that's going to be up there. I'm going to punch through and take advantage of the existing fireplace on the second floor, so that we have a little place to, you know, like a little hearth and whether or not, you know, place to sit out there. If you go to one of the elevations, I've asked the architect to extend that roof line. See in the east elevation at the top left, and to reduce the size of the fireplace so that it isn't quite as large. I don't think it needs to be as large as that, but extend the roof line out a little bit more so that it would add protection and sun radiation into the little studio there. That's one addition I'd like to, you know, see changed. And also reduce the size of the windows that he's indicated up there to not quite so tall. And as I said, keeping that roof line as low as possible. It needs to be over 7 foot, but then graduate up.
Any other questions?
so just to clarify, you said that the drawings are old, right?
I mean,
You said that you were using old drawings, and that's why you have so much information, correct?
absolutely. He could have.
But they are also on CAD. They are in automatic. So it's extremely easy to erase and eliminate all the unnecessary information, right? I mean, it's not that you have to redraw it over. You just have to either freeze the layer or erase. The same here on this. It's really confusing to contractors, plan checkers, inspectors. It looks like you're doing a whole house. You put a circle about what is it that you're doing, and eliminate the details of everything else. Just drop, center your attention into what you're doing, not the whole world.
I see.
That's one comment. The second comment is that it usually you just put the north to the page, the drawing is to the north on the top, like you're looking at the map, you have Canada on the top, United States and Mexico, right? Now, if you go to the front page, the north is on the left, and you go to the drawings, the north is on the bottom. Just, try to make things a little bit easier. That's the directive to the draftsman, I guess.
Yeah,
Right.
I'll convey that to Antonio.
Okay.
I don't know how your comments come out, whether or not they're written and he'll be able to.
Yeah, so we'll do public comment and then we'll move into formalized comments and those get documented so that Antonio can have them.
Yeah, after looking at the previous project that you guys were reviewing, this is really quite small.
Yeah, yeah, we get all scales. Okay, we'll move on to public comment. We have one speaker slip. Is there anyone online that would like to speak on this item?
If anybody's online wishing to speak on this item, please raise your hand in the chat. Madam Chair, seeing none.
Okay, and there's no letters in the box, so we'll call up Catherine Deshawn. And you can state your name into the mic for the record and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, thank you. The reason I'm here is there was something that was left out. And this particular homeowner he had a workshop, and many years ago, he turned it into a rental. And then eventually, about 3 years ago, I guess the county found out or something, and they made them bring it up to a standard. And so there are 3 of tenants that live in what used to be this workshop. And they do have a driveway in the front. Up to yesterday, they had a giant, very big boat in there. So nobody really parked in that area. So, but that got it off the street because they did at one time have it on the street. So what I'm okay with them adding a second story, but they say right in here that they want to use it for rental. And Holiday Hill Road is single family homes, and it's a very nice complex. There's quite a few homes in there, and I'm representing the other homeowners because nobody is happy about this. And also there is no off-street parking for these 2, which I'm assuming will probably be rented to a couple and a couple, which makes 4. And then this is on a term. And we also have people coming in from the, I shouldn't say coming in, but going in and going out across there. So it's already a turn. Then we have the clay studio that is going to be coming out that way. And we also have a tree service, and this is a separate area over there. And there's nothing anybody wants to change or can do anything about it because it's not part of Holiday Hill. But this house is a part of Holiday Hill. And we really don't want to see another 4 people using it as a rental. So I wanted to make sure that all of you knew this situation.
Okay.
That's it. That's all I
Do you
have.
mind introducing your name, please, for the record?
Pardon?
Your name for the record, please.
Catherine Deshawn.
Thank you so much.
And I live two houses away from this house.
Okay. And oh yeah, can you point out where you live on the map? And I will also just Our board is an aesthetics review board. So when we speak to neighborhood compatibility, it's about the aesthetics of the structure. If you have use questions for the use of the property, I definitely recommend reaching out to the planner for the project. And that is Justin Smith. I don't know if he's online, but you can get some of the way the property is being used. Those kind of questions can get answered directly from the planner.
As I'm concerned about zoning, I mean, these are all single-family houses, and all of a sudden, you know, we have 3 people over here, and then we're gonna have probably 4 people over here.
I
How
understand. It's
does
just not part
county
of the
drainage
purview of our
review
board.
it? That's what I'm.
Yeah,
curious about.
definitely write a letter to the give Justin Planner a call. Yeah. right up
Yeah, you
here.
want to have that addressed, talk to your supervisors or your governor. This is not a, we don't have any purview over what you're talking about. We're here to review the aesthetic, architectural character and landscaping. This is not a forum for discussions about use.
Yeah,
Not a
the
forum for discussion about.
We don't
zoning
have any
policy.
purview over the
Okay, then I'm gonna continue with the county and see what I can do. Thank you very much.
Can I say something? Mr. Sean, why don't you come to?
You guys have a chat up on Holiday Hill afterwards, where we need to move on.
Yeah.
Come to order, please.
It's good for us to know where.
Yours north.
I think it's upstairs. It would be she could get the answers. You know, if you go to the second floor. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, that whole time it was off. Oops, sorry. Okay, we'll move on to comments from the board, and we'll start with Josh this time and just go down the line.
So architectural character seems consistent with the original architecture of the building. I like the fact that the addition's centered into the volume as best as it can be. The only 2 comments I had for the applicant to improve, the applicant made for me. One was to reduce the bulk of the chimney on the second floor, and the second was to kind of study the window proportions and head heights on the second floor. They seemed a little bit off. Other than that, Alex gave some good guidance on just having your draftsman improve the drawings to make, I think what we need to see is a roof plan showing exactly the location of the second floor on the roof. So there should be another sheet of drawings to show the roof with the second floor on it, so we can know exactly where that's located. And then I would recommend following Alex's guidance on restyling the graphics on the elevations to indicate exactly what's existing and what's proposed by, by graphically achieving that, whatever that is. And then I think the applicant should come back with proper documentation for preliminary, potentially and final review. I don't think there's any reason to hold back in getting more drawings done so they can move this forward. And again, just make our comments clear. We're just here to review the architecture and landscaping use issues, and what you get to have and don't get to have are matters of zoning, and this board does not handle any of that. Go talk to your supervisors if you want to have that conversation, and they'll be very interested.
Alex?
Yeah, I like the design. I just, in general, I think I agree with the comments made. I would like the presentation to be more complete, like in a site plan. You have a little thing in the, again, north is on the top of the page, has to be larger, maybe 1/8-inch scale, show what landscaping is existing and what's proposed, if anything. It's a small addition, but sometimes there's an opportunity to put some landscaping to make your neighbors happy. And also we need more technical drawings. I mean, we don't know the height of this. It's not very clear how high how tall this second floor is. And there are a lot of unnecessary information on things that are not related to this project, and specific information is kind of lacking, you know. So anyway, but I support the project. Seems to be going in the right direction.
Okay. Val?
Yeah, I share the same comments. It's hard to tell on the plans where the overlay of the second floor is on the first floor and what it's doing. My initial reaction is that you have a lot of expense to go over. I like the way you've nestled it into the roof, but you know, just the expense structurally of creating the second story, you want to make sure that you get it located to the best best area for structural simplicity relatively.
We did lay it out that way. It is.
Okay, don't,
I'll
just
give
let
you-
me,
I'll give you
let
a
me.
minute then.
I agree with the windows need to be restudied and the fireplace mass. And then you could educate yourself more on ADUs and JADUs if you're, you know, those are planning issues with the neighborhood, but there's a lot of opportunity to have multiple small residential structures on a site like this. So you guys should get clear on what that means, and you'll be able to communicate with your neighbors.
Jerry?
I agree with all the previous comments. I'm gonna take a little further on the architecture. I think that second floor addition to me feels like it's a little bit popped on top, just like it doesn't quite match the roof doesn't quite match the same character as what the lower ranch style house does. The lower ranch style house has a ridge and it's got a gable ends which kind of go rise up and drop down. This one just feels like a single slope that's kind of popped up there. And if you're facing south, that south elevation, it just gets higher on that end. You know, maybe study dropping that roof, pitching it a little bit further south, you know, so it drops down a little bit, and maybe give yourself a little sunscreening. It's going to get hot up there. And then the architecture style would kind of match the upstairs to the downstairs a little bit more. All the comments the board said about drawings apply. These are hard to read. You had 3 or 4 drawings and they're just, you know, they're just showing what it's going to be, not what it's coming from. So having existing elevations would be helpful. And then I agree with the comment about the chimney and the fireplace. Yeah.
Okay. Robert?
I agree with all the comments. That the chimney seems kind of overpower the like kind of modest addition you're having. So you could downplay that piece. I think the rest of it fits in nicely. I don't really have much else to add.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have much to add to the comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Or do I? So I promised a minute, and if you'd like to respond to anything.
My immediate reaction is just quickly, I was born and raised in this house and I've had moved away and I'm able to keep it. I'm looking to move back in it. It is to support the mortgage that I had to get. I did put, you know, and have tenants in there. The plan is not to have, just so you guys, it doesn't matter to you really, but as far as for the public, I'm not going to rent it. It's not going to be a rented house. I will have a family in the, you know, one other family in there, and they're currently there. So, and they made it happen by taking on roommates. So.
Okay. Good. Thank you for your presentation. Yeah, so the comments will get formalized and then they'll be for Antonio to reference.
Thank you.
And they can come back prelim, final, full board,
Does
so
the
that we
board
can get
requ-
clarity on the drawing.
Does the board require or request a landscape plan at all or not?
I don't think they're touching the ground.
No? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, since it's only,
I'm sorry.
Maybe I would add, just bringing more site photos of existing landscaping and trees if possible. And I think that would be the only thing I would want to see.
I would comment that the landscaping photos that he put in there were before this house took damage under the holiday fire. And that was when the landscaping looked it's worst. You know, it looks much better now.
Okay, yeah, so updated photos would be great. Mhm. And so it can return preliminary final full board just so we can understand the
Okay,
a bit more. Thank you.
thank you. You don't need these. then.
No, it's okay. Thanks. All right. Well, oh. Can you change it to 2? I had written 3 on accident. Okay, we're on to item 3, Soy Buildings LLC. Do we have the applicant? Request of Noel Williams, architect for the owner of Soy Buildings 3 LLC, here for conceptual review of a 374 square foot minor addition to an existing single-family dwelling, 876 square foot new detached garage with minor hardscape and landscape improvements. The following structures exist: a 3,488 square foot single-family dwelling with a 497 square foot garage and pool. The proposed project will require 40 cubic yards of cut and equal fill. It's a 3.98 acre parcel located at 480 Ortega Ridge Road in the Summerlin Community Plan area. You can go ahead and state your name and give us your presentation.
Good morning, I'm Noel Williams, and this is 480 Ortega Ridge Road. It's an interior remodel with 2 small additions. We go to so these are the site photos, and you can see it has this beautiful view to the ocean, beautiful view to the mountains to the north, and a Spanish Revival style clay tile roof. Next page.
Sorry, I had to break up the PDF in a couple different I had to break up the PDF in a couple different files, so they might not follow the same
Oh, that's okay.
schematic, but I feel like floor plan, this is a good sheet. Or
Do you have the survey
yes.
on page A002? So this is our survey. Unfortunately, north is pointing to the left. There we go. North is pointing to the top of the page now. The big white space above it is a reservoir, federally owned, that you actually can't see from the property, but you can see the access road coming from Ortega down into the property, and car park and the pool to the south. There you go. Do you want to go to the pink page, I think? Next page. So this is the existing floor plan. There we go. And the 2 blue areas are the 3 blue areas are the areas that are being enclosed or added, and all of the pink is existing. So we have about 3,488 square feet of existing residence. This is just an RCP.
Probably don't need any more floor plans.
Well, there is a roof plan if you're curious.
You're mostly under existing roof.
Yes, exactly. We are doing some small additions that you'll see on the exterior elevations on the south side as but they're open. So if you back up 1, back up 2, 1 more. There we go. So we're at the front of the house. The existing elevation is at the top, the proposed elevation is at the bottom. On the right-hand side, you'll see that there's an open loggia that we're planning to enclose. That will be largely glazed. And right now we're considering the sort of bell tower entrance tower to cover it in perhaps sandstone. We might leave it in existing plaster. And down in the lower right-hand corner, you'll see that we're proposing a 2-car garage. I think it's actually a 4-car garage in the plan. Yeah. Sorry, 4-car garage. Next page. So there's not a huge amount of change in the exterior elevation for the existing house. We do have this proposed garage down on a lower portion of the property. but the materials would match the existing house. Next page. This is, oops, there we go. This is where most of the work is being done. We're proposing to add sort of open patios along the south of it, so they're going to expand on the sort of indoor-outdoor living that's so lovely in Santa Barbara. So these are not enclosed areas, they're open and they're patios, and we're trying to coordinate with the existing roof ridge and roof lines, and all of them are below the maximum heights. And I think we have one more exterior elevation. And there are no changes to this in terms of architecture. We do have some minor changes in terms of windows and doors. And there's you can see the addition of the covered patio on the left-hand side. Next. And these are our sort of 3D early conceptual renderings. Bird's eye. I think there are some better ones in the next page. Is there one more? It's just rendering. There we go. Okay. Yep.
Okay, move on to questions from the board.
Is the 4-car garage, it looks like it's a double door. So the 4-car, it's the depth of it, not the length.
It's a double loaded garage.
So it's tandem
Yep.
parking. Okay.
I had a question on the survey. Is part of the house over the property line?
That is a good question. Because on the when the house was permitted, clearly it's not over the property line, but when this was done with the professional survey in contemporary terms, it is over the property line, and we're currently in discussions regarding that issue.
I need to figure it out. Okay.
And that's at the garage, which we're not touching.
Okay, so it's an existing condition you're not touching, and so
Exactly.
figure out. Okay. Any other questions from the board?
Is there any landscape?
And we have Chris Gilliland contracted to do the landscaping. He hasn't started yet.
In my seat.
Yes, he told me that. He said I should mention it.
Yeah. Okay, no, we'll open up public comment. There's no letters in the box. So is there anyone online or in the audience? Oh, you had another question. Sorry.
Yeah. So you're using traditional materials and recessed windows, piece mission tile, smooth plaster.
Yes, we're planning on matching the existing Saltillo tile roof, sorry, clay tile roof, white plaster walls, and oil rod bronze windows.
Is the existing roof, is it an S tile or a C tile?
It's an S tile,
This tile? Oh.
I think. I can check for you on that.
It's, but you're not having much, yeah.
Yeah.
Too bad.
I just had a
Whatever it is, we are preserving it, so it will remain the same and will match the existing.
Okay. You have a question?
Yeah,
Got it.
just the site plan for the garage, the west side of the garage on, let's see, yeah, that's the one. I guess it would be Page North here. Is that just gonna die into grade, the foundation there, and then be partially retained on the east side of the garage?
Exactly.
Yeah. And then some type of screening eventually. Okay, thank you.
All right. Is there any public comment that would like to speak on this item?
If anybody in our chat would like to make a public comment on this item, please raise your hand. Madam Chair, seeing none.
Okay, we'll close public comment and move on to comments from the board. Let's start with Jerry. Opportunity.
I like the project. I think the improvements you're making are really going to be beautiful improvements. They're going to make the building feel like remove some of those dated elements to it. I think removing that little roof cupola thing going on and is going to.
Oh, I forgot to mention that. Sorry.
What's that?
Forgot to mention that.
I think that's a nice little touch, getting rid of some of the things that feel a little bit dated and not great. I think your master bedroom kind of addition is nice. The windows and doors you're adding all along that south side are great. I think the garage you're adding is sensitively placed and the scale looks appropriate. I think landscape is going to be a big part of this. It's so prominent on the hill. I know this house fairly well because I live not too far from this, and it's hidden, but yet it's prominent. So
Okay. Val?
Yeah, I think the improvements are great, and I like the siding of the garage. And are you sure it's S-tile? It's an awfully nice house to have. Yeah, maybe it's not.
I think it is S-tile. That's why I asked.
You think it is?
I think it is. From you can only see it from a distance, and the roof looks cheaper than the house should.
Yeah, it really is surprising, but okay. Fine.
I agree with the comments. Can you show the other elevations? The south elevation maybe is that the south?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I like the project. A word of caution regarding the heat. It's especially hot on the hills, and you're eliminating the arcades and the shade elements. So maybe you're going to work with landscape or something to shade those windows. Just a word of caution.
You want me to comment now or wait till?
I'll give you a minute at the end. Just yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm going to say.
Okay, Josh.
So from a conceptual review standpoint, this seems to be moving in the right direction. So I would just make my comments more about the further documentation of the project. Come back with just standard architectural elevations, make it very clear what's existing and proposed. And I think with classical type architecture, it's always useful to study the proportions. So having really clean elevations, black and white, without any trees or any obscure shadows are fine, but just, nice and clean so we can study that and make sure that everything's dialed in nicely. Bring back any information on new or existing details that are relevant to the project. I would recommend adding a page to the drawing set to maintain, to kind of convey the material palette, describe on that sheet the disposition of the roof, material, any kind of lighting being proposed. Make sure you include dark sky compliant documentation from the county so we can approve it, and the usual material palette items. And I think with those elements in place, we can make this move forward at the next hearing.
Can recessing doors and windows a little bit deeper might accentuate this as well too.
Robert.
Regarding the landscape, because you're in a high fire area, you're probably not going to be able to put shrubs up against the building like you around your new garage the way you've shown. So they're going to require a 5-foot buffer area. So I'd recommend, yeah, I'm assuming you're trying to kind of hide, the required wall height there to make the garage kind of happen. So, any special treatment of the garage there, I don't know if you want to use a different material or something, or stone or something like that to deal with where you have a taller wall that might be required, but the landscape is all going to have to be away from the building to meet the fire requirement, and Chris will be able to guide you through that. So that's the only thing I can pick out here.
Yeah, I agree with the positive comments on the architecture and landscapes forthcoming, and we can convey to Chris that we have really high expectations of the landscape. I'll look forward to seeing that. But overall, I think it's a nice project and pretty minor improvements to the house, but I think they'll make a big difference.
Good. I agree with the positive comments. And to Alex's point, I think that where they're adding the additional glazing, it's under a loggia, but I was gonna get confirmation from you, and you can have a minute.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna add, just that. No, the additions on the south side are loggias to provide shading for the existing windows.
All right, so with that, this project was agendized for conceptual. It can return prelim final. Does the whole board want to see it so we can see the landscape? Yes, okay. Prelim final full board when you come back. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, moving on to item 4, the McDermott alterations. Oh yeah, we'll take a 3-minute recess. Or, yeah, I think that's fine. We'll just, everyone can have a 3-minute break. No problem. Stand up. just make sure. These are all 8. Okay. All right. Request of Whitman Architectural Design for the owner, Sean McDermott, here for conceptual review of a 447 covered patio addition and remodel to the existing single-family dwelling. The following structures exist on the parcel: a single-family dwelling with an attached garage totaling 4,975 square feet. The project requires no cut or fill. It's on a 1-acre parcel located at 1002 Los Andes Drive in the Santa Barbara area. Another small addition, so you can go ahead and give us your brief presentation.
So I'm Rye Johnson, representing Whitman Architectural Design. We're with Rachel Gann, representing Stacy Isaac Landscape. If we could actually maybe start on sheet L 0.2, it's kind of in the middle of the set, but it's got site photos. This would be a good place for us to look at first. There you go. And so you can see the subject structure. It's actually a very kind of quirky, very monolithic looking design. It kind of just comes up, especially there on the rear facade where we're proposing a small back porch addition. And then in the front, the entry, it's kind of got all these different window shapes and kind of quirkiness that we're trying to iron out a little bit. You can also see, especially looking at, let's see, it was view number, looks like number 6. 6 and 7, you can see the neighbors to the north, or yes, to the north, or west, excuse me. And by that, you can't really see them, so it's a pretty isolated property. We're not really interfering with many views. Maybe we can go back now to the top of the set and we can look at the architecture. And maybe go to the next sheet, please. So here you can see it's a simple plot plan. We're proposing a covered patio on the rear of the home, and we're also doing a new covered entry along with general landscape improvements. The next sheet. Here you can see there's fairly extensive interior remodeling, mostly removing walls, just kind of opening up the space, going into that covered back patio. One thing that we should make sure to note is that we do have additional conditioned space that's coming from part of the garage being converted to a gym there. That's going to open into a private garden there on the side of the property. That back covered patio, we're going to have kind of these large bifolding doors that are going to open it up to the backyard. So the site, it's very sloping. You'll discuss that more in the landscape plans. We're trying to create more of a connection kind of from the front to the back, opening up the floor plan. You can also see that we are enclosing the laundry room there on the page left. Just making it a bit more isolated. When we get to some existing plans, you can see that it's right now kind of open to the living room, just kind of generally tightening things up. On the next sheet, you can see the second floor. And so here we're converting, that sitting room is actually a bedroom right now. And so we're converting that into a new sitting room to kind of provide some flow going from, you couldn't access bedrooms labeled 2 and 3 on this view from that main staircase at the entry. And there's also the existing deck that we're proposing to change the shape of it a little bit. Right now, the current design, it's very squished. And so the current owners never really use it. That's why we're deepening it a little bit, make it a bit more comfortable. On the next sheet, you can see the existing plans with some demo. You can kind of see there's that very squeezed shape of that top deck on the second floor. And you can also see where we're just removing some walls on the ground floor. The next sheet, you can see our elevations. So there on the top, we can see the front elevation. We're kind of replacing that big monolithic front entry that you saw with a more subdued, more sculptural design there, just trying to give it some depth with that new shape there. And then on the back, you can see there's the new covered patio. We're doing some arches, kind of lean into the Santa Barbara style. All our materials are matching the existing white plaster, white stucco, and then it's clay tile, C-tile roof. You can move on to the next sheet, please. These are just some side elevations showing the same thing, how they're projecting off the building. We're keeping these very low. We're trying to break up that very big blank white wall you can see in the backyard. Continuing on. And here's just some existing views. Just showing, kind of how it is now. You can really see the blankness of that wall. You can see the kind of the weird windows. There's circular windows. There's, all these different shapes, and we're removing some of those, really tightening up the design. Keep moving on. We can get into landscape, next sheet.
Okay, so is this on? Yeah. Concept is mostly Mediterranean with a lot of California natives as well, and we're moving a lot of some of the hardscapes, particularly the parking in the front. We've reconfigured that guest parking to a kind of a U-shaped driveway. Addition of a lot of plantings and olive trees along the street frontage for a better curb appeal. I have a walled-in courtyard in the front with a flagstone and a reduced scale water feature in the front. Before it was pretty large, and so we're reducing that. And then moving around to the back, we have a reduced lawn and then additional gravel pathways and native plantings and fruit trees. And next page. And that's the existing images we've already seen. So next page. This is our water calcs. I know this is conceptual, but we've kind of taken it the next step and reduced, showing the reduction of hardscapes. So we're actually at net zero gain for water. Next sheet. Next sheet, that's our pre-grading drainage. Here we have our irrigation kind of already laid out based on our conceptual planting plan, and we have met the low water requirements based on our conceptual list. Next sheet. That's just the fire. Our fire hose requirements meet standard, and to point out, we are showing the fire zone setback, and we're within that zone. We only have proposed potted plants. Next sheet. Lighting is minimal, mostly path lights and a few moonlights on an existing oak tree. So no uplights or meeting requirements there. Next. So that's it. Okay, great.
Thank you. Move on to questions from the board. No questions?
The U driveway, is that all new? Right now, it's just a pull in.
Right. If you go back to sheet L 0.3, that kind of shows the existing, next one. Yeah, that shows the existing, it's an asphalt driveway to the bottom left of the property. And it's kind of confusing to know when you park there where that front door entry is. So we're bringing the guest up a little bit more with the new layout.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Move on to public comment. I don't have any speaker slips on this item.
Madam Chair, we have received no request to speak for this item and no letter submitted.
Okay, we'll move on to comments from the board. Alex, would you like to start?
Yeah, this seems like a perfectly acceptable addition. It's a covered porch that definitely the house needs it, and the landscape seems to be wonderful. So I'm supportive of this project.
Okay, Josh.
I don't have anything further to add.
Okay, Val.
Yeah, it looks like a very nice project and a great way to try to pull together some of the incongruities of the existing.
Jerry.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with the board's comments. It's a difficult project to make it look handsome, I guess, but I think you're making efforts and the landscape looks great.
Here.
Yep, I agree. I think it landscape looks really nicely done, so commend you on that. Nothing really else to add. You guys knocked it out of the park.
I'm in agreement as well. We'll keep it easy.
All right.
So come back, prelim, final, and consent.
Yeah, since we've seen all the pieces, you can come back on consent for prelim final.
Doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah. Thank
so
you,
much.
guys. All right, moving on to item 5, Milco IT, Sorella Vista. Are you guys, okay. All right, the request of Ryan Bradley, agent for the owner, Mason Orfala, here for conceptual review of a 756 square foot tenant improvement to a 2,600 square foot retail structure. The following structures exist on the parcel: 2,600 square foot commercial building with 2 retail spaces. It requires no cut or fill. It's a 0.2 acre parcel, zone C2. It's located at 6530 Pardall Road in the Isla Vista area. Go ahead and state your names and give us your presentation.
Guillermo Perez with Adam Architects, and I have.
And I'm Ryan Bradley. I'm the owner and developer of the project.
All right. Thank you, guys. So this is a tenant improvement of what was an existing Wells Fargo. There are no building alterations on the exterior. It's mainly this view that you see here would be a paint and maybe some tile applications with the addition of some signage. We have 2 signs, which is the main sign, the larger one that you see there that says Sorella Vista, and a blade sign. If you'd like to go to the next page. These are elevations of the existing building where you see there's not much done as far as above ground. There is one area where, if you want to go to the next sheet, I believe it's here. There's a small portion of a lower concreted area that we're going to bring up to match the patio, so we're able to have a level outdoor eating space. This is on an existing site plan. Trash is an existing location. Yeah, everything is pretty much the same. The landscaping is staying the same. We're not going to interrupt what's already there. Next sheet. So here you'll see what's being done in this space. We're removing the ATM, a lot of the stuff they had for the bank, and put it in a froyo shop. And so next sheet, I believe. Okay, so here's showing the large part of the alterations on the outside. We have the color materials board calling out colors that fresh froyo, the mints, some lighter colors to play with. There is not shown here. There has been a conversation of different paint application with maybe a swirl on the wall. I'm not sure. Maybe some type of graphic, not something that would have not a signage, but just a general graphic. Next sheet. Here's an isometric of what the scope of the project is. You'll see. Oh, one thing I forgot. In order to meet some accessibility and to patch where the ATMs were, we are replacing the storefront. So that is an exterior alteration right there. Same storefront matching the color. Is that like a dark bronze aluminum storefront that they have along this whole building, and keeping that same mint color throughout the interior of the space. The exterior, it's going to be a concreted patio to match the existing. You'll see that little square. It's a little difficult to say which one's existing, but it's about I think maybe about a 10 by 7 area. Next sheet, please. That's an interior. All right, any questions?
Any questions from the board?
Can you go back to the isometric? Yeah, so the new storefront is what we're seeing on the left there.
Exactly,
Right
right
there.
there. So yeah, new glass, we have about 4 panels and 1 door.
The green square is what?
That's an existing landscape. There's a, it's like there's a short palm and I think it's another larger succulent type.
Okay, and are you requesting approval of the sign? Is that, it's not listed here, but is that what you're looking for? Or if there is, usually we have different sign applications.
We have the SEC in there, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
That.
So, and what is the sign looking, what is the sign, what's its letter size, what's the color, what's going on?
If you wanted to zoom in there. So
Keep going, keep going.
we have the wall sign meeting the,
You can,
yeah.
okay. So how large are those letters? Like 18 inches, 20, something like that? Yes.
Your question is the specific size of the font?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's a graphic, so I mean, essentially this one would be, you know, maybe about 18 inches on the S and the rest would be about a foot.
And this is painted?
This is no, this is not painted. This is about 4 inches.
Thick. Oh, it's a glass, it's an internally illuminated sign?
Correct. Backlit, illuminated, and we're staying 6-inch max above the existing.
And if there is, I don't, I mean, usually those cabinets are square or something like that, and I don't, how does the top work? I mean, I don't see the cabinet there. You know what I'm saying? Usually they're like squares, no?
No, it's wrapped. It's about an inch around the graphic. So what you see is the structure. The hatch is just to show our area.
Oh, very nice. That's an evolution. They didn't used to have that feature before.
Yeah.
So now the cabinet has the shape of the.
Correct.
Very good. Well, so the cabinet is black and the shape.
It's an aluminum, most likely white. Yeah, to match the face.
The whole area of Isla Vista, a lot of the businesses around there just have $50 printed signs on their buildings, and we're trying to elevate some things a little bit, make the area a little classier, a little nicer facility.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, halo backlighting, is it lighting from the back or is that actually, is that a translucent graphic that's going to be glowing?
Translucent.
I think the effect we're going to do is it's, you know, going to admit light through the sign for the colors, but then also a little halo around the back that just halos.
Okay, so it's an illuminated sign.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I have a quick
Any other
question.
questions?
Jonathan, you go to page number 5 with the site plan, please. It's kind of a random question, but where you're ripping out the bike parking, and then you're gonna put that new wait, go back up to where you had the site plan there. Where you're putting in the new outdoor like patio space. And I see that 10.01 is an existing backflow preventer. Can that thing be relocated into the landscape bed? So otherwise that's gonna be like kind of a hazard, just sticking up in the middle of your patio.
It's not ideal. It does need to be within 10 feet of the meter. So that's something we can look at and would be nice, but we wouldn't cage it to have something blocking it. Right now it's sticking out like a sore thumb.
Well, I would recommend if you have any way to relocate that into the landscape bed, because otherwise you're gonna have this kind of, you know, obstruction in the middle of your patio space that is a hazard.
Okay.
It's a very minor item.
If there's no more questions, we'll move on to public comment. There was no letters in the box.
No letters in the box. Let's see. We do have 2 people online. If anybody would like to make a public comment on this item, please raise your hand in the chat. Madam Chair, seeing none.
Okay, we'll close public comment and move on to comments from the board. We'll start with Val.
I think it looks good and I like it. It's lively and I'd go there.
Need some prayer, Alex.
Yeah, I agree. It's a very appropriate improvement for the property, well documented, well-designed. I think it's ready for preliminary final on consent next week.
Okay. Josh?
Yeah, I think its appropriateness to the setting and the neighborhood is perfect, and I'm really excited for IV to see these kind of improvements. In general, I'd like to see these local business type projects come through, and it's just few and far in between these days. So it's really great to see kind of a homegrown solution and something that actually improves and cleans up things and provides something you can walk in and enjoy. So good pedestrian accessibility and all that. So it's great for a dense area to have these things. It's really well done. I love the color. I love the signage. It's just a fun little retail, homegrown retail space, which is great. So kudos to you taking it on. I know these things are risky business. So I fully support it. Mass bulk and scale, architectural character and style, everything's great.
Yeah, this is a nice little project. It's presented very nicely too. I have no comments to detract from it. I think it's great.
All right.
I like your project as well. I really like the color of the building because it's gonna, the existing buildings there are so drab looking, and at least you've brought like a little bit of life to the area. So thank you for doing that. And then if you have a way to relocate that backflow preventer so it's not in the middle of the patio, I think it's really gonna work better for your space. I support it all.
Here.
I agree with the previous comments. Think it's a nice project. Yeah.
Great. So you can return prelim final on consent when you come back.
Thank you. We'll be swirling in October.
Yeah,
Yes.
I like that Wells Fargo becomes Swirlavista.
Yeah.
We're going to move into all Wells Fargos across the nation.
Go for it. Yeah. All right, moving on to item 6, 3519 Padaro Lane, LLC site improvement. Request of Paul Ashley, agent for the owners or in Balbase, here to consider for preliminary and final review of a residential remodel of a 1,912 square foot single family dwelling, a 1,302 square foot garage, accessory structures, remodeled patio area with sand and low stone wall, and new landscaping. The project no longer includes a new 5-foot diameter or 4-foot high cedar hot tub, none of that is included anymore. No fire pit, no, or wood deck. The following structures exist on the parcel: the 1,912 square foot single family dwelling, 462 square foot garage, 570 square foot rumpus room. This is the rumpus room project. 90 square foot laundry room, 180 square foot artist studio, and the project will require 12 cubic yards of cut and no fill. It's a 0.39 acre parcel located at 3519 Padaro Lane in the Toro Canyon plan area. I'll read the comments briefly. The changes to the house and site are improvements and appropriate materials have been used. Architectural style is compatible with the neighborhood. Mass bulk and scale is appropriate. Projects fold into the site. With the relocation of hot tub outside setback, the board supports the project. Sounds like that was removed, and suggests the addition of detailing work on the hot tub. So that's irrelevant. Landscape materials are acceptable. So it sounds like you went to Planning Commission or some Coastal Commission and you're back.
Yes, Madam Chair, honorable board members. My name's Mark Lloyd, representing the applicant today. I don't know if our planner is online or has got any updated information. If not, I can fill you in.
I was going to see there. I don't think we don't have a.
We do have David online.
What?
We do have David online.
David online. Okay. David, is there any update we should have regarding going to Coastal Commission or anything? And then it's back.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Is there anything we need to know going into this review? I imagine it went to Coastal Commission because it needed a CDP and now it's back and certain items were removed, but otherwise.
Yeah, so the Coastal Commission appeal period has already expired on this project. And yeah, there were some modifications. There was an original appeal on the project, and then the applicant and the appellant have since resolved the matter. And removed a few features from the project, which are now reflected on this plan set. So yeah, there's no longer a hot tub or fire pit, and some additional decking materials that were proposed have since been removed. So yeah, that's kind of the context for what you're seeing today.
Okay, sounds good. You can go ahead and.
Yes, Madam Chair, just to be a little bit more fulsome about that. As you know, the neighbor at the last hearing had testified and provided letters. We went to the zoning administrator for the CDPH approval. We got that approval and they appealed that. And so we worked with them to modify the project so that it would be mutually satisfactory to everybody. And I'll just leave it at that. And in that, we removed the hot tub from the project. We removed the portable gas fire ring from the project. And we also removed the proposal to reclad the concrete steps that go to the beach with the simulated wood, and no changes are happening with that now. So so we moved upon that. We agreed to do that. And this process is to finish up the approval process post CDPH approval by the zoning administrator.
Has anything changed on the architecture otherwise?
None of that has changed at all, and we have Paul Ashley on stream to go over the architectural plans. But I just wanted you to have that update as to our process and how we got through that.
Sounds good. So Paul, if there's anything that you want to point out for additional detailing, since you're here for, sorry.
Sure.
Feeling final, yeah.
This is Paul Ashley. Can you hear me? Is my mic on?
Yeah.
Great. So as has been stated before, this is a combination of two packages that were previously presented separately. One is for our site improvements and one is for a residential remodel. You're looking at the cover sheet of the site improvements. If you want to scroll down a little bit to page stop, sorry. So on the lower level is the proposed plan, as stated before. There's no longer a hot tub or equipment. And there was never a fire ring, it was just a ring of rocks. No gas line was ever installed. So the fire ring is no longer part of the project. And on the right, those are existing poured concrete revetments that had direct decking on them, and now that's all gone. So that's the extent of that package. If you scroll down this is our residential remodel package. No changes to this. But the planning and building department have had us relabel some spaces. This space in the middle it's legalized and existing unpermitted addition is not an artist studio. It's to be labeled an office. And that cute name Rumpus Room on the second floor is now a cabana. The planning department is now legalizing both of those spaces, but under those different names, cabana and office. Otherwise on this set, if you scroll through, there haven't been any architectural changes to since the last SBAR presentation. Same plans, same elevations, and as far as details and coloring and all those sort of things, those can be seen on the photographs of the finished construction. I don't know if this committee wants to glance at those or not, or if everyone remembers, or if those are even an issue for conversation. Okay? You're welcome to scroll through the set. Again, those are just changes to the notes for the planner and the building department, adding electrical details, etc., etc., etc. No changes from the previous time this project was presented.
And there's no landscaping in
No, not in the residential remodel. There's the landscaping sheet for the work that was done in the dunes. The new landscaping that was done between the sand patios and the revetments overlooking the beach. Once again, it's called legalize an existing unpermitted addition. And that's an office on the ground floor and an open deck on the second floor. And no change. Existing elevations above, proposed elevations below, that's all been finished. Same. Existing above, proposed below, been finished. Last elevation, and I think the last sheet is door and window schedule. And then we had some details structurally engineered of the glass handrails and the metal clips that attach them, which have been reviewed by the building plan check engineer and approved. That's the extent of the set. Okay, any questions?
Any questions from the board? No? All right, move on to public comment. Is there anyone online or in the audience for item 6?
We do have two people in our chat. If anybody would like to make a public comment on this item, please raise your hand. Seeing none, Madam Chair.
Okay, we'll close public comment and move on to comments from the board. Do any of the architects have any comments? It's the same as last time, and we didn't have any last time. Okay. Anyone want to make a general comment?
None of our previous requests or comments been altered from the last time you've seen it, so it's the same project, and I for one still support it. I'm sorry you didn't get your hot tub. I think that kind of frankly sucks.
All
My
right.
lips are sealed.
And then landscape, are there any comments on landscape? Okay. All right, this is agendized for prelim final. Does anyone want, feel like they want to make?
I'll make a motion for preliminary and final approval as submitted.
Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, guys. You're done. You're released from the process.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you for all your time today. Thank you.
All right. And item 7 was continued. We're on to item 8. Let me get prepared because this one has various. Yeah, he'll be back.
Hi, morning, afternoon now. Most.
And as a reminder, and to anyone with public comments, I have quite a few speaker slips, but anyone that doesn't realize that's the process, you can bring a speaker slip up to Jonathan if you'd like to speak on this item. All right, item 8, is the applicant in person or online? Are you the applicant? Oh, yeah. You can speak to Jonathan here, the staff, if you'd like to ask him. You can come and ask him if you have a question. So our understanding of the process is that if it's not applicant driven for the continuance, it has to be because there was a noticing issue. And I requested confirmation to see if there was a noticing issue, and we did not find one. And so yeah. Let me ask Willow. I understand. I think you're working with Ms. Kolasecki, correct? Yeah. So we did some research yesterday to try to figure out if there were grounds for continuance. Willow or the planner on this project, can you speak to this? This is
In terms of posting the agenda online, it was actually posted on the 2nd of July. A revised copy was posted on the 6th with the updated description of a different project, but this agenda was posted on July 2nd.
And is the question just about noticing for the associated planning permit?
yes, and why a neighbor wouldn't have been notified that the project was coming back if they had requested notification?
Yeah, I mean, we do our best to provide notices to interested parties as a courtesy. It's not required that we provide updates for everything, but we'll always respond if there's inquiries, but it's not actually required by ordinance to provide all of those updates. So we do our best to
She
do
is
it.
the planner who's speaking. Yeah, Willow is the planner for this board. So unfortunately, for your interest in it, we have done a lot of research yesterday to try to figure out if there was grounds for continuance. There's not But this is not, this is agendized for conceptual, further conceptual and preliminary. So there will be plenty of opportunity for public comment today, and it's not the last time that this project will be seen. All right. I did, yeah.
Not preliminary.
It's conceptual and preliminary review for item 8. Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mentioned, that this item's here for further conceptual and preliminary review. So there's no final action able to be taken today. And we will hear everyone's public comment once we get there. All right, item 8, Rincon Heights Resources LLC Guest House. Do we have the applicant here? Okay, you can come in either place, but just, yeah. Make sure you're near a mic.
The front chairs here.
Okay. Request of John Kuykendall, agent for the owner.
Sit up here.
Oh, you're
Okay.
attorney for my clients, Rincon, but this is Carrie Fox, who is here today and present here today. She has been traveling during the other hearing. She's a mechanical engineer and is required to travel quite a bit. This is my brother, John Kuykendall, the land use planner.
Okay.
Also here today, which was part of the.
One moment, let me read the project description and then you can give introductions. Request of John Kuykendall, agent for the owner of Rincon Heights Resources LLC, to consider the project for further conceptual review and preliminary review of a 3,732 square foot, 2-story addition and remodel to the existing single-family dwelling. A new 798 square foot gross guest house and 2 new 434 square foot carports. The following structures exist on the property: a 7,208 gross square foot, 2-story single family dwelling, 2 484 square foot detached garages, tennis court, swimming pool, 1,200 square foot cabana. The proposed project requires less than 50 cubic yards of grading. The property is a 4.49 acre parcel, zoned RR5, located at 275 Toro Canyon Road in the Toro Canyon Plan area. The previous comments I will read through. Architectural style of the single-family dwelling and additions and new guest house is appropriate. Additions of single-family dwelling are cited appropriately. Siting of the guest house and carports need to be restudied. Study ways to reconfigure site plan to reduce concerns of privacy between neighbors and views from the public right-of-way. The guest house is too close to the road as currently designed. Study lowering elevation of proposed guest house and move it to the southeast. Study ways to reduce impacts of carport, in particular the western carport. Return with arborist report that addresses potential impacts to redwood trees. Report must identify the critical root zone and show edge of potential development area, particularly the guest house adjacent to redwoods without impacting them. If redwoods are proposed for removal due to being a hazard, arborist must document the hazard as part of the report. Return with landscape plan that demonstrates existing and proposed planting palette. Include comprehensive hardscape and landscape plan that looks at the entire project, including hardscape between guest house, single-family dwelling, and single-family dwelling. Include landscape screening between guest house and western carport and street. The board encourages the applicant to share plans and coordinate with neighbors. You can go ahead and state your names and.
Yes, my name is Frank Kuykendall. I'm the attorney for the applicant, and I thank the chair and the members of the board for allowing us to come back to here and respond to each and every one of those comments. Last night, we submitted via email a written response, and we brought extra hard copies for each member of the board and others that may be here who would like to review it.
Okay. Oh, perfect.
You have it, okay. Also present here is Mr. Frank Nguyen, the architect you heard from last time. We have Charles McClure, landscape architect. And we also submitted a report from a Karen Chrisman, the arborist, who submitted a report. She is not here presently, but she gave a thorough report. The first item on your comment list we need not discuss because it was agreed to. Let me start at the beginning of the, when it says public right-of-way. We have to correct that because this is not a public right-of-way. This is a shared driveway through an easement. It's a private driveway. There is no public road or public right-of-way involved in this matter. So it should be corrected for the record. I think it matters when you're determining issues like view or even privacy. It should be corrected for the record from this point on. And remember, we're here, as far as the guest house is concerned, the primary objection of neighbors is that it's about the guest house and not the main house. The architect is here that can talk about the new additions, the expansion of the square footage to the main house, which is going to be minimal in nature. But I want to first talk about the guest house and its location, because that was one of the specific points you raised last time to come back for. You wanted us to talk to fire. We did. We talked to the Summerlin Carpinteria Fire District. The fire marshal came out. We walked the property through to him. We submitted his letter to the board last night. And of most importance, that letter states in the last sentence, from a life safety point of view, the current location of the guest house is the only reasonable, practical, and safest location for the guest house. It should not move further east because of the mature redwood trees. That's also true for moving it southeast, but there's also redwood trees there, plus an additional structure, the pool cabana. He did say it could be moved west, but that would require the construction of a heavy-duty road that would support the weight of emergency vehicles, fire trucks, and so forth. The guest house has been modified to accommodate the concerns of the board. My client, Carrie Fox, will explore this with you after I speak. We've minimized and reduced the height or elevation of the guest house by several feet, over I think it's 3 feet and 3/4 inches, because they adjusted the pitch of the roof. Secondly, they removed the fireplace. They removed the fireplace, which significantly reduces the view from another property upwards of the slope. And again, remember why we're here as far as view. It was brought up last time that there was no ocean view. It was concluded last time that there is no ocean view from any property, not from my client's property, not from the client right above our property. What is at issue here is that the neighbors are protesting that they desired a view of my client's yard that's currently undeveloped, a side yard, and they want to maintain that yard undeveloped, but that's property they do not own. Now, to accommodate the board's concerns, my client went through the steps, hired experts, consulted with the fire department to make sure that the current architectural style of the guest house meets all the ordinances and your comments. It did. The leach lines. Why couldn't you brought up before, could the guest house be moved further south? You'll see in the reports, you'll see from the experts regarding septics and landscapes, we're using a non-mechanical septic system that uses the natural topography of the land for gravity for the leach lines for the septic tanks. And remember, we're dealing with a 5-acre property, but only 1 acre is within the building envelope. So it's constrained to that nature. So the location of the guest house, based on all the experts, all the investigation that was done, and what was done in good faith by my clients, spent considerable money and time to respond to each of your comments, that is the only safest, reasonable location. From a fire perspective, from the septic perspective, from a privacy perspective, yes? Oh, I thought you had a question.
You just asking.
Okay, just raising your hand. So the location by itself, when you have fire saying that's the location for safety, to most that would be an all-important factor. What is the safest location? It's where it is currently located. What can be done to assuage the privacy concerns of the uphill neighbors at 295 Toro Canyon? If you move it further west, it obstructs their view. You remember last time when their architect submitted a visual simulation? It showed it much further west than that should have been accurately represented. What we've submitted today is an accurate representation based on the true location of the storylines. It is not as far west as what was represented before. So what we've submitted is a true and accurate depiction of where the guest house would be. And last time, I think you specifically told me about the hedges. And what about the landscape plan? We brought our landscape architect. There will be 2 stone pine trees, I think 2 stone pine trees that will be removed. Those are tall trees. They will be replaced with strawberry trees that are much shorter trees for privacy screening. That should help preserve and assuage concerns about privacy from the neighbors. As to the main house, if you go back to the first where it showed the blue and the orange, the first exhibit.
Why don't you let me Franklin, why don't you let me go?
Okay. Okay. All right.
You want me to sit here? Oh, sorry.
You can sit there.
I didn't even.
As long as the light is.
I have to press the button.
No, you're
I
on.
press- Okay. Oh, it's on. Sorry.
Yeah, first let me hand it over to Ms. Carrie Fox. Thank you. Thank you to the members of the board.
And on Frank's theme, thank you for your time today. I appreciate it. Like Frank said, I'm Carrie Fox. I'm the owner of a partial owner of 275 Toro Canyon. I apologize that I haven't been able to be in front of the board sooner. I think much to my chagrin, I think as we're sitting here again today. But I travel a lot and there's been a lot of conflicts that were related to these hearings. I'm married. I have 5 children now, and this house is the house that we bought so that we could live in it and have this extra acreage so that our kids could, roam around and run around and do the things that kids do. All of our children are under 10 years old, and I apologize if I make any really silly comments because my youngest is 3 months, and I have not slept for quite a bit. You'd think you get better at it, but no, you don't necessarily get better at it. So how did this purchase, how did we get here? We purchased this house September of 2023, and we approached the project knowing that we needed to reconfigure the house as it was anyway, because for us, at that time we had 4 children, we didn't have 5, and we knew that it wasn't going to work because we didn't want any of the younger children downstairs. So we knew we were going to have to reconfigure the house, and we also knew, at least, for us and our preference, the style of the house is just, I call it Floridian. I don't know. It's very eclectic. There's a lot of there's an opportunity for improvement, I think, to make the house a beautiful home that really comports with the Santa Barbara style, which, is so beautiful. And, that's what we aspire to have in both the main house and the guest house. We, gave the charge to the team to try to be as de minimis as possible. So what we didn't want to do was we didn't want to come knock down the whole house and build everything from the ground up. What we wanted to do was we wanted to modify the existing house, and we wanted to, for example, add carports to the garages, because that was a way for us to add the space that we need, because the garages are they're short and they don't fit the vehicles that we drive. So that was a way for us to try to add something, again, thematically, add something that is what accomplishes the extra space that we need for our family, but does it in a way that we're trying to be as, thoughtful as we can be to, broader, a larger construction project. Everything that we proposed also from the get-go was, look, we're going to go through the permitting process, and we're not going to propose anything that's outside. We're not asking for something that is, broadly discretionary. This is something that comports with all the applicable guidelines. We wanted that from the get-go, from the design. Don't make it so it's taller. Don't ask for anything special. Just make it so that it complies with all applicable guidelines. And we've done that since the beginning, and the planning folks have independently verified the same. Now, Frank hit on a little bit of this, but I think the important thing to look at, and you guys had it zoomed in on the site plan, this SP1, I think it is what it is you can see the building envelope is very small. It runs at the very, very northern edge of the guest house that's at the top. And it encircles the main house at the bottom of the cabana, goes around the tennis court and goes back up across where the garages are. That's actually a 1 acre area of, and our gross acreage of this lot is actually 5.04 acres. So we have only 1 acre that's developable. And that development has obviously already been developed. We wanted to keep that, like I said, right? So we've got a tennis court, an existing house, the garages, and the cabana that are just constraints, as well as this very mature landscaping that we really, really love. Like the folks that have come out and taken a look at the Redwood Grove that we think is spectacular, like our kids playing because it's their area, because they're super tall trees. They said it's like a one of a kind. It's really beautiful. And that's why we really want to make sure, that it's taken care of. And again, it's us trying to make sure that we're not, broadly impacting the area. But what that means, in addition, we have this topography. So the house kind of sits on a knoll and everything kind of falls away from the house. Even the 295 property is actually at a lower elevation than where the main residence is on the 275 property. And then it falls all the way down as you go to the south. So that's another consideration that we had to think about as it relates to where we could place development. Again, Frank talked a little bit about this, but from a development standpoint, we can't place the leach lines, which is what you see, those kind of 3 fingers that you see below the guest house. Those leach lines, for example, have to stay within the building envelope. So it leaves us in a situation where we have to try to place that guest house at the proper elevation so that we get that gravity drainage down into those leach lines. So those are all things that we had to consider and that the team considered thoughtfully as they tried to cite the development. Now, the last hearing, I was out of town, but then I found out that I was expecting my 5th child. And that's where you're going to see some changes that have been made to the main house. The changes, and if you would bring up Exhibit A, that would be helpful if you guys have it from, I think you had it up earlier. There you go, perfect. This is a first floor view of the floor plan of the main residence. The color coding that you see is important because, again, in trying to stay with the same theme of proposing a project that is as least impactful as it can be and still trying to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish, we went in and said, okay, what things have already been proposed that we can just enclose so that we're not going to expand the footprint of the actual house, right? So the areas that you see in red or orange, those areas are areas that were previously proposed and reviewed by the board that were patios. They were covered patios previously, and all they are is enclosed covered patios. And then the blue was added to expand the kitchen area. Because what you find out is that when you have, like, as you might expect, my parents have to come and help us. They don't live here. And when you spill over from an 8 seating to a 9 seating, then like everything kind of changes from what you need from dimensions, from a table standpoint, everything else, like things weren't fitting. So we tried to expand that. That's what you'll see there. The dotted hash that you see around the kitchen area is the actual only footprint change. So that's the actual change to the footprint that you guys have seen previously at around 350 square feet. If you go to the second page of Exhibit A, this is the second floor. So the colors follow the same scheme. The blue are areas that were added to the upper floor, which expanded the 3rd bedroom so that we can fit 2 people in a bedroom and comfortably, and then also a little bit of an addition to the bathroom of the primary bedroom. So I wanted to go through that so that you guys can see see what's been proposed. One other thing that I'd like to highlight for you guys on the second page of the letter that DMI submitted, you can see what I think is a representation of our good faith efforts to use this process to try to listen to the board and try to listen to public comments. Those bullet points on the second page on the top above the project changes, these are just high level but larger efforts that we've made to try to be, like I said, to act in good faith and try to accommodate as much as we can what's been asked. Frank mentioned it, but it might have gone unhighlighted because Frank was added to the team last hearing. But after the first hearing, we did, we removed the chimney and we lowered the height of the guest house specifically to try to make that make any sort of visual impact reduced. We installed those story poles so that we could perform a site visit for the board. We also, as part of the current plan, we redesigned the grading. We worked with the soils engineering and redesigned the grading with the civil engineer to reduce the grading significantly. And again, in an effort to make the project as small as we can be, which is reflected in the changed grading volumes. We completed the consultation with the arborist as asked and the Carpinteria Summerlin Fire. And we also submitted a landscape screening plan to try to address the privacy concerns specifically as it relates to the western carport and the guest house, both of which are only viewable from the private driveway. And the guest house is viewable obviously from the 295 parcel. I think it's important. We also reconsulted and confirmed, like Frank mentioned, with PML, Ron Pike of PML, as it relates to the placement of the septic system and how that constrains where we can place the guest house. We also, if you could bring up Exhibit C, this is an important point to make as I'm going to hand it over to John Kuykendall. There were a set of visual simulations that were submitted as part of the prior hearing. And we needed to submit accurate visual simulations of what this guest house will look like in the 295 view shed, because we felt it was obviously material to the board's consideration of what things will look like and what they're trying to address, what we are all trying to address. If you go to the second, no, you were in the right place. Yeah. No, I meant this. Like I said, my brain's going faster than my mouth is speaking. If you go to the next page. Next page. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see this, but these are all of the work was done in revising these visual simulations on the work that Bob Easton had submitted at the prior hearing. So within the picture that he shows here, which was his number 3, you can see an actual the western boundary of the story pole, okay, that was installed and surveyed per the architect and per the licensed surveyor. So if you go to the next slide, you can see where the placement of that story pole is as it was surveyed, and then where the guest house was shown to be within the view shed. So you can see that the westernmost story pole is actually toward the middle of where the house was shown. So the next slide adjusts where the house is located to the story pole and shows you where the actual edge of the house will be as it relates to the hedge and the view from the 295 first floor. If you go to the next slide. Material also, we think to this conversation is that there was a historical hedge that existed between the two properties. The house that you're looking at is the 295 property from the 275 property looking north. And that historical hedge was removed after the first hearing. So if you were to replace the historical hedge, and you can see on SP2, there is a survey of that hedge. So you can see that it was surveyed after the initial hearing. So if you flip to the next, please, excuse me. If you were to actually grow the hedge back to the height that it was prior, and at the same time as our first hearing, that would be the view that you would have of the proposed guest house. If you go to the next slide, next, please. Bob also showed a view from the second floor. So this is from the second floor of the 295 parcel. And you can see the placement of the guest house again. If you go to the next slide, the corrected version of the same, which is, again, honors the surveyed story poles and the heights of the story poles, which were both placed per the architect. And you can see the actual placement of the guest house. And if you go to the next slide, you'll see that with, again, the historical hedge in place. And we thought that this was relevant to level set for the board so that you could see exactly what we're trying to talk about and talk through as a group, especially since we've tried to be very diligent. And again, like I said, acting in good faith to bring forth, in contract with several experts to try to figure out the best way to move forward and most thoughtful way to move forward. And with that, I'll turn it over to John so that John can address as far as specific comments from the prior hearing, and I just appreciate your time.
Can I ask a quick question? What you're showing here, is that with the reduced height of the guest house?
Yes, yes. That adheres, so the story pole, it ties to the story poles, and the story poles are at surveyed height and at surveyed location.
Thank you. John Kuykendall with DMI, agent for the applicant. A lot of this has already been covered, but I'm just going to briefly summarize our responses to the SBAR comments from the last hearing. We had, I don't know if you want to bring them up, but yeah, there you go. Number A, which was architectural style of the single-family home and the guest house, is appropriate. We acknowledge that and we appreciate that. They've made a very strong effort to try to use or implement a more traditional Spanish colonial revival style, rather than, as Carrie said, demolishing the buildings and rebuilding them from scratch, with the exception of the guest house. The comment B, which was to the additions to the single-family home were cited appropriately, but to study siting of the guest house and carports, as has been mentioned, there was a lot of careful site planning in the very beginning, given the constraints of the site with the building envelope, the septic system, the trees, and topography, and then the relationship with the other structures. So when siting the guest house, it was really the only location was in the western portion of the building envelope. And within that, we did our best, as Carrie illustrated, to minimize its size and scale. I mean, it's 16-foot height, single story, and it's pushed as far east as it can go. It could go further west, but it doesn't serve anybody's purpose by going that way. And then as Frank had mentioned, moving it to the southeast, the fire also had noted that to do that, you're outside the 150-foot hose pool. Then you'd have to construct an adequate road to go down there to support a fire truck. And again, it's not something that would be appropriate, at least preferable, having that guest house next to the cabana, which is kind of an active recreational social area where it'd be best preferred to have it where it is. So there is a little bit of privacy and just quietness for the people that stay there. The other thing about the siting of the guest house, it complies, as land use planning has validated through the CDP process, coastal development permit, it complies with all regulations and policies. So they're ready to approve the coastal development permit pending preliminary approval from your board. And then we're going to be able to move forward with final plan, structural engineering, and onto the building safety. So, and then with that, we also, as it's been mentioned, we prepared the landscape plan that Chuck will briefly present to you in just a minute. And it's a screening plan along the northern property boundary that addresses specifically the guest house and the carport structure, the western carport structure. So we've added plantings in there so it's to increase privacy from both properties, 295 and 275. And again, I should reiterate Frank already mentioned it, but the road in there is not a road, it's a driveway. And the county defines the driveway, if it serves less than 5 parcels, it's a driveway. So it's not a public right of way. The only public right of way is Toro Canyon Road on the east side, and no development's proposed over there. So it was important to do that. And then the setback of the guest house is 20 feet, which is required, which complies with the standards, and it's right inside the building envelope. And the driveway is actually another 10 to 15 feet further north of the property line. So the guest house is almost in effect 30 to 35 feet from the driveway. So it's not on top of the driveway. That was alluded to at the last hearing. I think Carrie addressed, you had the comment about studying lowering the elevation of the guest house and move to the southeast. I think I just mentioned that. There's been many things that we've done since the original plan, such as remove the chimney, and the pitch of the house or the guest house. And then we've consulted with Summerlin Carp Fire, the arborist, and Ron Pike with PML. And given the site constraints of the building envelope, the topography, and recommendations from each of those individual experts, the location that is proposed is the optimal location. And this was actually done before when we drafted the plans. When we first came to you, we did all of this analysis, but we now have it substantiated by these experts. And then, one second. Oh yeah, and then the carport. So the impacts of the carports, we had the arborist look at that as well. And then what we did is we have a redesigned foundation. So it's a new pile foundation. And so with that minimizes the grading or any over-X grading. And the arborist was supportive of that to where it's not going to have any detrimental impacts to the adjacent redwood trees that are in the area right there. And that also, we had PML, Pacific Materials Lab, the soils engineer, analyze that and determine what was required. And it was a very positive step because it ended up resulting in our overall grading being less than 50 cubic yards. You don't even need a grading permit. So we're now in compliance with that. So it reduced all of our grading after the revisions that we did and some of the modifications, even with the slight minor addition to the house. And then the other one was returned with the arborist report. So you have a copy of that. We did that. We've mentioned it. We've also returned with the landscape plan that Chuck will briefly describe. And then the board encourages the applicant to share plans and coordinate with the neighbors. We have we've had communication with the neighbors to the west, 285, Carrie. And then 295, you may want to speak to 295.
No, I think the board saw.
Oh, did you see it? Okay.
I think the board saw the submission from the 285 parcel. So we've been in communication and constant communication with them, and they've, been communicative and listening every step of the way. And she had sent an email to that yesterday. Hopefully the board saw a copy of that.
Okay, that's fine. And I think that concludes my presentation. Outside of we really would like to request that the board grant preliminary approval today for the project so we can move forward with the approval of the coastal development permit and have final plans prepared, and we can get the structure engineering and return to your board for final. Okay, I'll turn it over to Chuck.
Or the landscape plan. The landscape plan's quite simple. The property's completely landscaped right now. We want to take out 2 trees to put the guest house in. And then there's just a little bit of screening necessary. We're screening between the driveway and the two new carports. And then in terms of the guest house, the neighbor has a screen that was talked about a minute ago. What wasn't talked about is there's a screen on the south side of the driveway, and then we're proposing 4 new trees, 2 oaks and 2 strawberry trees, just on the south side of our hedge. So we've got sort of 3 layers of screening, and we don't. That's the proposal. I don't see any reason or any. There's no reason to do any more. So that's the landscape plan.
Okay, we'll come back. Go ahead.
The last presentation would just be Frank, the architect, just to quickly go through those changes.
You were the architect. Okay.
We have 2 Franks.
Okay.
We have a Frank C and a Frank W.
Okay.
It's confused us too.
Hi, I'm Frank number 2, the architect. So basically, I just want to go through the addition that we are proposing for the main house. Can we go to Exhibit A, please? Another page. The first page, yeah. So since we have our client has a growing family, so the main thing they need is kitchen, family room, and bedrooms. So that's what we are doing, and we are adding 1,328 square foot expanded space. But half of it, 627 square foot, is the space that we already proposed last time. As you can see on the east side, which is the family room, which is the right side, and the south side, which was a covered patio, and we use it, part of it becomes part of the kitchen, and on the right side, it becomes the part of the family room. The blue represents the only square footage that we are adding that will increase the size of the footprint, which is 346 square foot. And that will be part of the kitchen, which everybody congregates there all the time. So, and the rest, 255 square foot will be upstairs in the bedrooms. The addition to the kitchen and the bedroom upstairs on the west side was tucked behind a proposed cover patio last time. So it's not something that will be like sticking out or, you know, of the imaginary line of the footprint. So, and the addition to the family room was part of another cover patio at that time, the last time. And again, it is tucked behind the study room. So what we did was we considered the privacy and the massing of the house. So we tried to just limit the massing, and it's not affecting anybody because people from the driveway, no one can see it.
Do you have updated elevations? That might be the best for us to,
Okay, sure.
and then we can move back to
Yes.
questions from the board.
You might tell them about
Okay.
So these reflect the updated floor plan. Is that correct?
Yes, right. And also we kind of since we are redoing the family room, we have to redo the staircase, the exterior staircase on the south side, because it was a curved staircase. But with this addition that we're doing, we have to do just a regular staircase, a double back staircase. Will be against the house.
Okay.
Thank you.
Before we move on to other questions from the board, I have a question for Jonathan and Willow. So we can take, and because there was questions about when, like noticing went out and also when files were received, it sounds like we got most of the files by the deadline. And conceptual review, we can review things that are sent in after the deadline, but not for preliminary. And so I just want to get clarity, because there's so much conversation around it, whether some of the additional files that we're seeing were received later.
The presentation and the response to the SBAR comments were received yesterday. The revised plan sets were uploaded on the 2nd.
So is there information that was received yesterday that differs from the original plan set?
This presentation materials, all that we submitted yesterday was just our responses.
Okay. So we had the like arborist report, the soils report,
Oh,
the
yes.
letter, all of that.
And that
but-
was submitted on May 20th.
Okay. We only see pieces of it on the board, and so that's why I have to ask.
And
like,
I
when we
think
got
Willow
these.
could probably speak to that to validate when everything was submitted.
Yeah, and everything was uploaded to the box file on July 2nd.
Okay. I just need clarity because there's been conversation on it. Okay. Any other questions about the project? Yes.
Chair, I have a question for the planning staff, specifically the planner for the project, Kevin.
Kevin is not on,
Santos and
so
Willow, if Willow's
I don't have to
available.
do Willow.
Yeah, I'm on. Kevin's out today, but
Okay.
I'm here.
Can you just briefly describe to the board what review planning staff has conducted on this project application so far, and describe any exceptions or concerns that the planning staff may have, and specifically, does the planning staff currently support the application, and is the application complete from an appropriate standpoint to where it's at in the process?
Yeah, I did confirm with Kevin that all zoning issues have been resolved and there's no concerns from a zoning standpoint.
Okay, so to clarify this, that from a staff standpoint, there's nothing that we should be concerned about that violates ordinance or design guidelines?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
I have a question. The carport is the same as what you previously proposed. There's been no changes to the carports from the previous plans?
From a design perspective, or what? How do you mean?
Yeah, just the design of them and,
We changed to the pile design to minimize the grading.
okay, so as far as the aesthetics of it is. And then the story poles that were up when we went at the last visit, that is what represents your current design. Is that correct? It hasn't been lowered at this.
No, it was lowered previously after the
Okay.
initial hearing in the 24.
Okay, so those story poles still match what's proposed here.
Yes.
Thanks.
I have,
Sorry, go ahead.
okay. I apologize. I'm seeing this project for the first time. So, can we go through the guest house just for, can you guys show the different materials in the guest house, maybe just for a little bit deeper? And maybe the differences between what was shown before versus what's being presented this meeting?
Is on GH1. There you go. So from the last comments, the architect on the board was saying that the pitch of the roof was too high. So we lowered the pitch to 4 in 12, and part of it is 3.3 per 12 in 12. So we will successfully lower the pitch at the height of the ridge 3 feet. And also we used to have a fireplace in the living area, and we took it out so that there won't be anything obstructing 295 view of the sky. And also we had a pop out on the west side of the guest house, and then we take that out and put the little sink inside the house. So it's one wall and nothing popping out. So that was that's what we did. So basically, we lower the house 3 feet to the top of the ridge.
So what is the current height now?
16.
The total height now is 16 feet of the guest house?
Mhm.
Existing grade.
16 feet something.
From
Existing grade.
existing grade?
Right. Yes.
It's 15 and 3 1/4
Oh, yeah, 50
from 18 and 4
Yeah.
inches.
to the existing grade.
Oh,
Yep.
to the existing.
Yep.
I have a question on these photo simulations. Why are you having to render in the hedge that's historically there? Does that mean it's not there anymore?
That's correct.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I don't think I've set the save. Is it? Okay. Any other questions from the board?
I sent to Jonathan 2 photos from when we made the site visit that I thought were helpful, that are unedited, and
I was wondering why your name was on them.
so if you want to put those up, I just thought it was helpful to have photos of something without any thing shown.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
I have a question about, you guys have a fire letter, for the guest house. Could you walk me through, is anyone familiar with what, lengths he's talking about, the fire, personnel, what lengths he's talking about, the 150 feet? Where do they plan to access the guest house? And are they parking on the driveway and then accessing through the gate currently?
That's correct. They said that because there's no formal actual hardscape that enters the 275 property, there's, I don't know what those are called.
So
He
what,
said that they won't enter the property, so the hose length is uses as a radius from
The shared driveway? Okay.
yeah, that's what, with its current location. That's what you're asking?
Yeah, yeah. And then a follow-up question is, was there any study of integrating the covered carports with the guest house potentially in a different location and actually providing a secondary vehicular entry at that gate? Okay. Thank you.
Is the development envelope, how big is the development envelope? 5 acre parcel, 1 acre development envelope, and we have, so that's what, 40, 50, how many square feet? And then you have 17,000 square feet of, or 15,000 square feet of development on that.
I think as far as the gross, when you have to do your development plan triggers, so you have to count everything. So they just have a gross, and I think it was about 15,000. So it's every little item out there.
Pretty dense, yeah.
Any other questions?
What's the plate height of the guest house?
Oh, can we go? Yeah. I can't see that far.
It's a 9 to plate.
Plate height. 9 feet.
Great, we'll move on to public comment. There are several letters in the box that I think we can show first, and then we can call up speakers. Jonathan, I wasn't clear why we had all of the previous ones and all of the current ones. Was that a request of a? Okay. Should we pull them each up? Yeah, speakers.
There was more submitted last night.
Yeah, we show them on the screen for the record.
There's one from Haley Kowalski. Oh no, this is from previous.
If there's loose images, we'll probably just have the speakers speak to them because they aren't situated or connected to a specific name in the folder.
This is from Doug Davidson. The new letters that were submitted. Okay.
For a few from Davidson, so I just want to make sure.
Yes. Cindy Davidson had this letter.
This was requesting a continuation.
Yes. I think those were 2 separate letters. And this is from Lawrence Duarte.
Is it?
These are 2 photos from Cindy Davidson. Some more photos. Dean Evans submitted a letter in opposition.
Okay.
Lynn Johnson submitted a letter in opposition. Cindy Davidson, this is her letter for continuance. Jocelyn Town submitted a letter. Looks like to be not in favor. Oh, in favor, I'm sorry.
Sorry, but it's no, if you read the letter, it's a confirmation. It's really related to the board's last prior comment in the minutes that we should be reaching out to talk to the neighbors. She affirms within her letter that we've been talking constantly and she knows about the changes and the genesis for the changes.
I'll give you a minute at the end to respond.
Okay, sorry.
And those are the letters I have.
Okay, those are the letters, and if there's anyone online, Jonathan can give you instructions.
Yes. You have Haley Kowalski online. Did you want to do the in-person or the online first?
We'll do the in-person first. Yeah. All right. Haley also submitted a speaker slip, but I imagine that's for online. So. Oh,
perfect.
I'm gonna call up Bob Easton first. See. Oh, you just got here. Oh, you were one of the first speaker slips I got. That's why I called you first.
And you'll have 3 minutes. If you don't mind introducing your name.
Bob Easton, architect, so
You have 3 minutes.
are we seeing a graphic?
Yes, let me bring that up, sorry.
Would you like your letter pulled up or the plan?
I think the plan would be good to start. If we had a site plan,
Okay.
So you can see at the top left part of the screen the house. If you could lower the image. No. There you can see the house of the folks up there, and you can see that the location of the guest house is smack dab in the middle of their view. And I can't remember exactly how many months ago, but it was at least 6 or 8 months ago, I believe, when this first came up. At your hearing, I had submitted some drawings showing the how the building was blocking the view, and showed how the building could be, since those pine trees are going to be removed, the 2 yellow pine trees there, that the guest house could be located closer to the existing cabana and preserve basically the view from the folks up above. And I don't know if you have that graphic. I think we do.
Yeah, we also have version of it printed, I think. So.
That drawing is been altered by the applicant.
The one that was submitted by you, Bob.
I believe so.
That's his.
So the that is basically my drawing showing where the original location was proposed, and the map, the plan drawing I had showing how the guest house could be moved over closer to the cabana and still have 20 feet of clearance and be able to preserve the view from above. And I think there was a positive reaction from your board to that proposal at that first hearing. And there it is. You can see the guest house moves 45 feet to the east and 20 feet to the south.
Please complete your comments.
Yeah,
your 3 minutes.
That was 3 minutes. If you'd like to clear up, if you'd like to finish your comment.
Well, that's basically, I think, still what we're trying to propose.
Thank you. All right, I'll call up Jack Simer. Sorry if I said your last name incorrectly.
Hi, my name's Jack Timer, and I'm here to speak in favor of the project. I've gone through the detail of the architectural pieces to it, from everything from wrought iron to roof to windows. I've developed quite a few properties in the area. But after hearing some of the comments today, I only have 2 really questions of the board. First of all, I understand, maybe John knows, that unless nobody's entitled to have no buildings in their view corridor unless it in some way threatens their health and well-being. And certainly this guest house as proposed does not do either of those things. And the second question for the board, and I guess for everybody, is, as I understand it, if they were just dealing with an additional guest house, they wouldn't have any discretionary review. As I understand it now, they could just come in and without discretionary review, build a 2-story guest house under the present allowances within the state regulations. So I don't know if that's true, but that's what I have been told. And so I've now listened to all the comments, and it seems to me that Carrie and Lane have done an incredible job of trying to give this board all the detail and answer all the questions that you could possibly have. So I would urge you to approve the preliminary approval of this project. Thanks.
Just for clarity, really quick, I couldn't read all of the address. Are you a neighbor or just an interested party?
I encouraged, I'm a relative of Lane and Carrie and their family,
Okay.
and I encouraged them to buy this house when they first looked at it 3 years ago.
Okay.
And I developed an area called Innisbrook here in Montecito. So
Okay.
that was my project. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, we'll call up Doug Davidson.
Hi, I'm Doug Davidson. I'm the evil man in 295 Toro Canyon. I have never been contacted about the project by our neighbors. The first initial talk was that they're going to connect the two garages and add a bedroom. So that's not even close to what's happening. I gotta tell you, I like these people. I don't know how it became so adversarial. They didn't ask one question since it was suggested they contact us last time. Hey, Jonathan, can you pull up the living room photo with the, and worse than that, it's almost like they're digging their heels in for ego purposes and not communicating with us at all. You're speaking for me, and I don't want to see in their backyard.
If we could make sure our comments are directed to the board and.
Oh, I'm commenting because he was directing his comment to me that I wanted to see in their backyard. That is untrue. I have approached Lane, who's a gentleman by every sense of the word, and Jim, and no response. I have serious concern for the welfare of the redwoods, the tall sequoia that separates our property. And after reading the arborist report, which I saw yesterday, she spoke of mitigation, and mitigation by definition is the action of reducing severity and seriousness of something. In broad strokes, that tells me the three structures, the two carports and the guest house, put the trees in stress or danger. She's talking about if you have to cut roots, cut the canopy, all three structures are within the drip line of the sequoias. When we moved in, they were 10 feet tall. If that. We have wildlife that is constantly on our property: red-shouldered hawk, gray fox, mule deer, raccoon, great horned owl, a large assortment of other birds, squirrels, and of course, the occasional mountain lion. I see one or more of these animals daily, and a project this size will certainly have an effect on them. I don't know what else to say other than I've only been called unreasonable by my wife. I don't know why they haven't contacted us. Jacqueline, we contacted her originally, and she called Carrie. She has concerns about that's the sort of they parked a large trailer there to show, I think, that they can. There's just absolutely no consideration for our opinion, our concerns, or compromise. We got 19 seconds?
Oh, that's
I'm over.
already over, yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, we'll move on to Lane Lincecum.
Hello,
Oh,
thank you.
Are you part of the applicant team though?
I'm Carrie's husband.
Okay, so normally public comment is for interested parties not in the applicant team, but we'll give the applicant team a minute at the end of public comment to respond to.
Sounds good.
All right, and then Cindy Davidson. What?
Good afternoon. Can you pull up, Jonathan, would you mind the picture of the hedge
so I can kill this argument because this is crazy. First of all, the hedge was diseased, so we cut it down. We also, this was all done prior to any board meeting. You were out there, the site visit. Can you put the other picture showing the plants and the planting? It was replanted. It has historically, and I think I know this because I planted this hedge and we've had to replace it several times because it doesn't do well. It gets diseases. So for them to call it a historical hedge when they've never lived there, to me is a little baffling. Historically, and I've submitted photos that you have in your file of it always having the middle cut out, not just for ocean view, because that's only partial, but it's for wildlife. Can you show the other picture? And there's a picture of the hedge that's thinned, that's replanted.
Absolutely.
It's not just for view, and I don't want to look at their backyard. That's the last thing I want to look at. It's for the air. The sea breeze comes in. We don't have air conditioning. We need that air. Wildlife, there's a picture of deer jumping through this area that I submitted. Everything supports us having it low. The ocean, it was only grown up, like you saw when it was thinning, and it's probably thinning because we grew it for the freeway to help stop some of the cement mixers right down at the bottom of our hill and to stop that dust and the noise. So that's why it got the height. The historical pictures are submitted and you'll see that it's always been like that. And it wasn't, we replanted it before you guys were even came out. It had nothing to do. So I resent them saying that we cut it down for the board meeting or for the hearing. That's just not right.
Here's the photo.
No, that's not the one. These are just pictures. That's something that they put in without a permit. This is, let me stop here for a second. This is the story pole that they used. As you can see, you don't see the top of the story pole because it's hidden in the treetop. So their diagrams and their little scenarios are inadequate. Bob Easton is a world-renowned architect. I think his drawings are probably more accurate than our land use planner. And we fought for a ridgeline story pole to be put in. So you really could see, this isn't even the end of the building. So if they really want to show us where the building is, I suggest at this point, put in a full storyboard with a ridgeline. Then there's no question where it is. Okay, could you, if you want to stop at that last photo, I'll just show you that it is exactly opposite our house. Okay. The last thing I want to talk about real briefly here, as I said, we're unprepared, so I'm kind of winging it here. They have a shed that doesn't have a permit on the property. I mean, they have not shown, I hear her talk about good faith, and I wish that were true. I want to be friends with my neighbor. I've lived there. I've been through 5 owners in one house, 4 in the other, and I've always been friends. It's been a wonderful living experience. And this is the first time that someone's been uncommunicative and not presenting. We couldn't even get them to give us permission to look at the plants, to get a copy of the plants. So this is the kind of stuff that they rule break and is inconsiderate. And that's what we're getting. We don't get, hey, here's our plans. You can, will this work with you? We are more than willing to compromise. Show me one. They've done nothing. There are very little changes in this plan the last time. I think they've ignored the board's suggestions, but that's up to you. On this picture, my last thing that I want to talk about was construction staging.
It's already over time, so if you could.
Okay, well, I would have been better prepared.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have 2 speaker slips for Haley, but you can come once. Haley Kulisecki.
Site plan, sure.
No, she's not. Representing.
Members of the board, my name is Haley Kulisecki and I'm a land use planner at Brownstein. I'm representing the owners to the north of this project, and I was here before you back in August when you last reviewed the plans. Upon review of the resubmitted materials, we're concerned that the applicant has not made a good faith effort to address the minutes from the last hearing. I'm going to briefly run through the board's minutes and express where we believe that these plans fall short and where improvements could be made. And also, as you've heard from the neighbors, no effort has been made to communicate or share plans with the neighbors to the north or the multiple neighbors who submitted opposition letters at the last hearing. Also, our planner failed to notify us as the interested party about this hearing or opportunities to review plans in advance. So the first comment from your board was a clear direction to study shifting this guest house to the south or to the east. And it clearly noted that the structure is too close to the property line. The revised plan set before you has not shifted the structure further south or further east, despite what we see as an opportunity to pull that structure down. What we would have liked to see is maybe a directive for PML to explore these proposed leach lines. Can we flip those with the structure? Can we pull it down and work to shift that building? Or perhaps above in the north west above the pool cabana, maybe there's a space there away from the redwoods. We've got 2 areas within this development envelope that have not been exhausted. And then the size, bulk, and scale, and it's really just the siting of the guest house that I think is our biggest concern. And then also the 2 carports. In the arborist report, there's a request for a tree protection plan and for the eastern carport to be reconfigured due to it only being 2 feet away from a redwood tree. We don't see those changes addressed. Also, I want to note that the west carport has not changed in location or scale, and that is only 6 feet away from an existing mature redwood tree. We're seeing a lot of reliance on the redwood tree near the guest house as a reason, a justification to not shift the building. And I just want to be clear that we're not asking for the building to be closer to the redwood, but actually further away. And again, the arborist report does not explicitly list how close that redwood tree is to the structure. So I think that information would be valuable for us to know. Also, we know that there's a new landscape plan before you today that focuses, and we are concerned about the Coast Live oaks currently not being tall enough to provide adequate screening and then potentially growing too big and blocking future views. Thank you, and we hope you will continue this for further preliminary review.
Thank you. All right. Any other public comment online?
We have one person. Oh, we have nobody else online.
Okay. So to the applicant team, we will run through our comments and then we'll give you 1 minute at the end. All right. Josh, would you like to start?
I must say this feels like an appeal hearing. Much of the testimony and information that's been passed to the board is unfortunately not very useful to our narrow purview. So rather unfortunate way to spend our time. Maybe perhaps this is a dress rehearsal for an appeal. Just a lot of discussion and it isn't actually relevant to what our narrow purview is. I just have to say that before I get into these comments. So where to start? Let's start with neighborhood compatibility, I suppose. I'm looking at an aerial photo of the surrounding area. It's very eclectic. I don't see anything that this applicant is proposing that is outside of the norm of what I see in this general area. Most of the properties, especially the larger properties, are sited in random configurations that have no real pattern or precedent that should be followed here. And I think if you go back to the precedent that gets set along Padero Lane, we saw a hearing earlier today, there is a precedent there along the beach that is well established and it needs to be respected in order to create harmony in the neighborhood. However, this neighborhood is eclectic, to say the least, and it's random. And so there isn't a real precedent there that I think you could look at to see if the siting of these buildings is compatible or consistent with the rest of the neighborhood and the rest of what the neighbors have historically enjoyed. So I think from that standpoint, I can find that it's compatibility with the neighborhood in terms of the siting of the main house, the proposed additions to the main house, garages, and the guest house are compatible with the neighborhood. I think that the question at hand is sensitivity to the neighborhood, not compatibility. We'll talk about that in a moment. Architectural style obviously has been discussed and it seems appropriate, so there's no issue there. I think it's also important to state that this board didn't, in the minutes, show this. It didn't offer any specific recommendations to the applicant. You'll notice that items C, D, and E, the term study is prominent. Study ways to reconfigure the site plan to reduce concerns of privacy between the neighbors, so on and so forth. So based on the testimony of the applicant today, they have studied that and they've come back to us with this proposal that we see today. And in terms of satisfying that comment, I'm satisfied that they've studied it and they've chosen their proposed design accordingly. Same with items D and E. So F says that they should return with an arborist report, which they have. I don't think there's any controversy about that. There's some testimony about the discussion of why an arborist report is required, but so far they are working inside of the rules that are in the guidelines and the ordinances. So there shouldn't be any controversy there. They're mitigating, and that's what every property owner is required to do. And landscape plan has been provided. So I think in terms of H, doesn't seem like from the testimony today that your neighbors are satisfied that you've reached out to them. There's nothing we can do about that. That was just an advisory comment. So all of the comments, as far as I'm concerned, have been addressed. A proposal has been reimagined and brought forward for our review. It doesn't seem to be violating any of the county's ordinances or zoning requirements or design guidelines. So it's kind of an objective review for us to see if this is ready to move forward. I believe if there wasn't concern about the neighbor being able to see the property or the other sensitivity issues that are being alleged, we would probably just move this along because there's nothing here that is unusual. It would require this level of scrutiny. So in the interest of moving things forward, I'm inclined to move this to make a motion today for preliminary approval and move it forward. I don't think there's much more that this board can do to help mitigate the concerns between the applicant and their neighbors. We've done our work to ask for things that would potentially result in some harmony there, and they have completely failed based on the testimony I'm hearing. So this probably needs to move forward and allow for another hearing. If obviously the applicants can appeal our decision. I'm sorry, the applicants or the neighbors can appeal our decision. I just don't have any sense that us spending more time making comments about moving the building in question, which seems to be the most offensive to the neighbors, is the guest house. If we were to move it, we could make that condition, but I doubt if that's actually going to satisfy. And I don't sense that. I think that was made pretty clear in the last hearing, and the applicants have chosen not to move it, and they haven't received any kind of or haven't found any kind of
Please don't, yeah.
Come to order.
In the public comment.
Okay, thanks.
There's no public comment open right now.
Yeah.
Ma'am, we'll have to ask you to leave if you can't abide by the rules of the commission. Yeah, I'm not sure. All right.
All right, anyway, I think I made my points clear. I'm gonna make a motion for preliminary approval based on the project that's submitted today, and I'm satisfied that the applicants have reviewed the comments and they've come back with their solution to that. And I hope that, you know, that just moves us forward.
Okay. So there's,
And I don't have any further comments for the applicant. I like, you know, in terms of changes to the design at this
motion,
point.
if anyone would like to second, or we,
There's other comments.
that's what I was saying. I
I'll
think
wait.
we should move through comments before we make it.
Just making that clear that I would support that, or I would make that motion.
Okay. All right, Alex.
So I was going over the list of comments that we made last time. And it's nice to notice that we do have a large development of over, it was something like 14,000 square feet, and now it got larger, maybe 15,000 for the main house and accessory structures. But then all of the comments from the neighborhood are more about the guest house, which is only 900 square feet. The applicant did reduce the height of the house and did respond to, I wouldn't say all of them, but most of the comments from the board. You know, adding the landscaping to screen the house, the guest house. To further screen the guest house, to use pile foundations to protect the redwood trees from the western carport, the arborist report, well, the landscape plan and so forth. I think what has failed was the communication between the applicant and the neighbors. And it's something that, you know, I'm not sure what's going on there. It's not my business, it's not this board's business, but obviously there is a relationship that it's been fraught and has created this situation. But architecturally, I think this plan is supportable. It's I don't see any major flaw. It is true that there is some infringement on views, but yeah, these are not protected, especially protected views. Other than that, I just don't see anything really wrong with the project. So I'm inclined to support this project, and I will vote for it.
Yeah, I think in general, this project is not, it's not really noteworthy in that it does follow all the ordinances. You have tried to lower the height of it, but I really, for the life of me, don't understand why you're not talking to each other. I think that would go a really long way to not having bad blood go on forever, and you all want to live there for a really long time. So I'm just saying you should be talking to each other. And, you know, still looking at this, there is room to move the guest house slightly to the east and south and rearrange those leach lines and still meet fire department. It could be done. You make your choices and your neighbors will make their choices. I'm not gonna resist moving this forward, but I really think there's a big mistake being made in lack of communication. And that it's gonna coexist with all of you.
Jerry?
I agree with everything that the board has said so far. I think this is unfortunate. Maybe you have a 15,000 square foot development going on. And the dispute is over 800 square feet in its location. If we could break the project apart, I'd say instantly you know, approval for the main house, but that, you know, that's something that you guys have to figure out is how to resolve that little piece there. I think the main house is totally appropriate for the neighborhood. You have these large acreage parcels that have grown up as equestrians and now they're switched to big estates. That's what they are. So this is not out of keeping within that. Like Chairwoman Frosher said, I think you could slide that guest house south, reconfigure some septic, and have all your problems go away. The applicant has reduced the height of the guest house by 3 feet. That's a significant effort to protect the neighbors and to meet neighbors' demands. And I think there's one step you could go further to do that. And I think then you guys would have a friendly neighborhood without any of these disputes. But all in all, I think the application is ready for project preliminary approval.
Here.
Well, I had the benefit of coming out to the site and visiting the site and seeing the carport location and the guest house and actually walking through the neighbors. I think it's a Davidson's house and seeing the view from their second story and kind of just the overall neighborhood context. I mean, I slightly disagree. I think what we're with some of the previous, like, I think we were pretty unanimous at last board meeting about, you know, really studying the carport and the guest house location. Me personally, I don't see that there has been a really creative process that's happened to address those comments. But again, I'm one board member. I think one of the comments was coming back with a landscape plan that felt holistic and tied the guest house and kind of gave the guest house a reason why it needed to be there. And I'm sympathetic to the fire department letter. But again, this isn't our first rodeo, so to speak. I think we understood on site that that guest house could, you know, be relocated, and there could be some reconfiguration of how that works with existing trees. So I can't support the location of the guest house as currently proposed. And then in regards to the carports, you know, there was really an issue with that western one feeling really close to the existing shared driveway. And that was the primary concern, and just seeing the arborist report that redwood will be greatly impacted, likely even with a reduced footing and kind of reconfiguring the footing. I think that's really the issue of it feeling just, I think going back to the Toro Canyon plan, which is where this house is located, of course, it was mentioned, you know, this is kind of a grandfathered in estate type property. You know, most of the houses are fairly rural, and this is kind of I think growing up in the area, I feel like this is kind of one of those houses that is more estate-like. And so I think those additions are appropriate for how big the property is for the main house. But all the other buildings that are being kind of tacked on and encroaching on the road, to me, feel like it's just the mass and the bulk of the project is not compatible with the Toro Canyon plan. So I can't support it. The carport and the guest house as currently designed, but it's one board member.
Okay. Robert?
So yeah, I sent to Jonathan some photos from when we made the site visit because I thought it was pretty evident from when we were there that what was being proposed was removing a pine tree and then putting a guest house that was going to be significantly less of a visual block than the existing tree was. So if I was just evaluating it from that standpoint, I thought what was being proposed was actually potentially going to open up the views more than it was going to obstruct anything. So I think what was an ask here was to study screening the structure, and we have a landscape plan that proposes new oak trees and arbutus trees and an existing ficus hedge that we'll do every possible effort to screen this structure from the neighbor's visibility. And this is all a conversation brought around like protecting views of a neighboring guest house, which, I mean, this board is kind of tasked with much bigger issues normally than protecting like the visibility of looking at your neighbor's, roof or something like that. I mean, this is like a common thing that exists within neighborhoods is that people sometimes have like a view of a portion of the neighbor of their house, you know. So I personally, I don't see anything that's like greatly offensive here. I do agree with the fellow board members that, you know, the applicant here could slightly move the guest house towards the trees there that um, are remaining. And, you know, I don't really see that it's going to make much of a difference in the long term of protecting any views or making a big difference in appeasing the neighbors. So I think they're in every right to position the guest house where they've chosen to. They've made like what are substantial efforts in reducing the height of it and the size of it. And um, I, I have no reason to support them and wanting to have their guest house there. And I think the rest of it is all completely uh, acceptable. So I'm in support of the project. I think it should be moved forward. I would expect you're probably going to have some appeal or something related to what's going on here, but at this time I am in support of it.
Okay. I agree that it seems that the applicant has taken significant efforts to reduce the height of the structure. I do wish that there was better communication between the neighbors because I think it's put us in a tough spot where it's a normally approvable project, but then because there's been a lack of communication and sharing of plans, we are in a position of trying to understand whether enough effort has been put in, which is not the purview of our board. And so what we're tasked with is the public views and the aesthetics and siting and neighborhood compatibility of the structure. And I realize that the gray area of that is the neighborhood compatibility, but the scale of this structure is compatible with the neighborhood. And so it's more about a siting discussion. I understand the fire letter in support and the arborist report and the leach field challenges. I do wish there had been a little bit more attempt to move the guest house away from the property line, but I don't think it's enough to stall the project because there are significant constraints on its siting. So.
Chair, so I'm going to try to make a motion, but I want to say something first. Like, I really appreciate, Mr. Smith, your comments because I can't disagree with anything you've said. However, I just, so I'm kind of weighing two different directions here. One is, you know, we asked them to study it and they studied it. And they came back and they asked the applicant to study these things. They did. We gave them clear recommendations on how we thought it might mitigate the concerns in the neighborhood. Those were clear. And then they came back and they've made this proposal. So I guess what I'm weighing here is, do we punt and give specific comments on where to move the guest house and how to move the guest house and what height to make the guest house and everything else that's been alleged, from the trees to the carports to everything that's been discussed today, and then reboot and come back and do this again and spend the client or the applicant's money and everybody else's time and effort and money that's at stake here for another hearing. Do I feel like that's what I'm weighing, is if we put it in that trajectory, it gives it another chance to get resolved at this level of the board. But frankly, I just, in all due respect to your comments here, the way that the applicant presented this today, the way the testimony's gone with the amount of lawyers and land use people involved here, it feels like these guys want an appeal. And I don't know that, I'm not telling anybody to do that. I don't know if it's a good use of our time to revisit this. So if I make a motion to approve it as submitted today, then the chips fall after that. But I think most of what's been discussed here is a conversation to be had before the supervisors, not an architectural review board that's concerned with aesthetics and landscape of architectural design. I think I feel like we've reached our limit of what we can do to help mitigate this. And that on top of the fact that the neighbors aren't in communication. Like that, all the things that we could put into play here that would help them resolve this together and come back with a harmonious resolution to this that we could approve, I think seems to me apparently gone by the wayside. And so I'm not satisfied with this, that I just, well, anyway, I think that's,
I do your thing, and then I'm gonna give the applicant their 1 minute that I promised before we make a motion, just so that if there's anything.
sure.
Of course, I'm one vote, right? So I did want to reiterate though that my comments were more about just someone mentioned like a good faith effort to come forward with different solutions, and I think that it's nothing against the applicant, wanting to open up and create more space for their family. It's really just whether you're being served properly to get a good site plan and making sure everything's cohesive. Because I think you can get everything you want with a good solution and people being happy in your neighborhood. But I'm just not seeing that today. So that's why I'm not in support.
Yeah, and I wanted to add too that the public testimony today has been fantastic. I appreciate the folks in the neighborhood have come out and actually explain themselves and their concerns on this. And it's not lost on me the sensitivity of the issue here. I just think you need to understand that this board has kind of three options at this moment. We can vote to deny the project, and I can't do that because there's no precedent, nothing here that would make sense. We would get in big trouble for denying this project as it's presented because it's following all the rules. We could punt it and push it forward, or we can move it on. Those are the three options we're sitting with, and I'm weighing the second two. And it's not a deference to the neighbors and their concerns. I believe everybody here has a valid stake in this, and by proving this, I don't disinvalidate any of the concerns anybody has brought forward today.
Okay, I'm gonna give the applicant the 1 minute before we make a motion.
I think that the most important thing to think about today is that the definition of effort is not change. The definition of effort in this circumstance has been the additional time and resources that have been spent to study moving the siding of this guest house. We spent those resources. We did that diligently. We took a year to do that in a thoughtful way. We've presented, as part of the letter that was sent to the board, the changes that we've made to this project in order to be accommodating to the neighbors, which have included the height changes to the guest house and the fireplace removal, which is consistent with the architectural style of the guest house, and then also changing the foundation design of the carport to reduce the impacts. So these things are real changes that were made. The grading changes were also made versus last hearing, and they were done, like I said, thoughtfully and with resources, time was expended to do that. And I would just ask that the board take that into consideration, that changes are not necessarily the same as expending resources and time and thoughtfulness.
Okay, thank you. Great. Does someone wanna?
I don't want to wait until.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to move for preliminary approval of the project before us as submitted.
Second.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
No.
Okay, motion passes 6-1 for granting preliminary approval.
And sorry, is that to return on final with full board?
Yes.
Okay.
And an extra note to make sure that interested parties are notified, please.
Absolutely. Okay, with that being our last item, we are adjourned.